Feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way up, way too fly, yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they wanna come take my place? I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. This my vocation, now I got rollies, all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Swatting all black like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. I ain't make it this far for myself, yeah. I had to prove to everybody else, I had to set them straight, yeah.
Mic check. We in the building.
They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight.
They hate when you elevate. Elevate, elevate. What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, my peoples? What is good? ATP, clap it up for boxing. 3 days and counting. 3 days and counting. Yeah, we decided to go up a little bit earlier this morning. Go up a little bit earlier. Ray will be back. I'm sure he'll be back in the building any minute. You know how it goes with this technology, man. Start off late this morning. I'm always doing this. I decided to change the time up, go up a little bit earlier. Got some things I want to do a little bit later. And I was like, F it. Today is the grand arrivals for the David Benavidez, David Morrell card that we've been all anticipating, potentially fight of the year candidate on this card. We're seeing the best fight the best. And we don't get that all the time. So when we do, we should celebrate that. Shout out to the PBC for also having their first event of the year. Let's hope that they stay a lot more busier this year than they did last year, but they're starting off the year with a banger with David Benavidez and David Morrell headlining this card. We've got Isaac Pitbull Cruz making his road to redemption coming off of a loss with Rayo Venezuela. He'll be fighting Angel Fierro, trying to get his respect back in the game and get himself back into the conversation of making the biggest fights possible. We know Isaac Cruz was in the conversations of making fights with Ryan Garcia this year. Rumors of him and Gervonta Tank Davis potentially were going to happen at one point, but then he lost against Raul Venezuela. So this guy was on the top of the world this time last year. End up falling short against Raul Venezuela, even though he had a great year last year, winning against Rolly Romero, becoming a champion in his division. But lost to Raul Venezuela. He's on his road back again. No rematch clause being activated. He's going to fight Angel Fierro. We'll talk about that as well. We got Jesus Ramos making his return to the squared circle, coming off of his last controversial loss, some might want to say, against Erickson Lubitson. Either way, time to set the record straight. He does get a chance to do that against Jason Rosario. You guys remember Jason Rosario in the building. You know what I'm saying? He was actually a unified champion at one point in time, got derailed and dethroned. Was it by the Charlo brothers? Was it about Jamal? I can't remember. Don't hold me to it. But regardless, had a decent showing out last year on Pro Box TV against Jarrett Hurd, a slugger of a fight, a close fight regardless, but he did win that, gets an opportunity to get back in the limelight against Jesus Ramos, who's on his road to redemption. We'll talk about all those things and everything else boxing, of course, guys, of course. Let's salute to guys in the building right now. We only got a few people in the building. Remember to hit the likes on your way in, show some love to the chat. Don't be afraid to throw a little color in there and support the channel. Everything is appreciated. Let's see. Shout out to Eastside Easy. Man, becoming a favorite here, man, with the engagement. We got Ross Clock. Bomac is a bum ass trainer. Don't say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Not Bomac. Oh man, salute to Ross Cloud in the building, man. And salute to YG Knight also in the building. YG Knight. morning to you, YG Knight. Appreciate having you in the building, man. It's going down the screen here. We got YG Knight. JR Spock, man, my God. My God, I know he had an issue with anything. Shout out to Ja Rule. Let's see here. Ross Clyde, Freedom March for sure. Building, salute to you, man. What's good with you, Country Q? Country Q in the building. What's good with you? So, yeah, man. Well, let's talk about it, man. Let's move the needle, talk about the conversation. You know, we don't get 1,000 people up in the building, so I got to wait for the first 100 to start talking, right? We're not living like that just yet. We're not living like that just yet. On our way eventually, but right now it is what it is. Let's talk about David Benavidez, David Morrell, 3 days out, guys. I've been up and down. I'm still up and down. I am going to give my prediction at the end of the show of what I think is going to happen on this fight. Part of me wants to kind of wait till after the grand arrivals as well. I'm assuming these guys are going to be on weight. They've really never had problems before. David Benavidez has had his issue, but that was back at 168. At 175, I'm expecting him to make weight pretty well. He looks like he's been doing great in the gym. Everything I've seen from him, from working with Andre Ward and, just the work he's been doing in the gym, the pad works. It looks like he's in great shape, super confident, says this is going to be his best performance up to date that he's had. That's what he feels like it's going to be. And of course, fighters are supposed to feel that way, right? Fighters are supposed to feel that way, super confident. He's saying this is going to be the best performance that he's had, and I'm anticipating seeing that. But on the other side of the conversation is David Morrell. Part of me wants to say, man, David's got to be a little bit nervous, right? This is the big show. He's under the limelight. Everything is on this. He's been asking for this fight ever since he was at 168, putting the world on notice that he was putting 168 on notice. And more importantly, his crosshairs has always been on top of David Benavidez's head, right? And I'm talking about the same way David Benavidez has had his crosshairs on Canelo's head. David Morrell has pretty much been carrying the same energy for David Benavidez. So he gets an opportunity to show out, and he's been wanting this fight more than any other fight. That puts a little bit of motivation behind you, right? Coming from the humble beginnings that David Morrell's come from, he's shown us that he has a certain skill set. I believe his amateur career is sitting somewhere like around 130 amateur fights, like 5 losses. This guy's a winner, guys, and he's shown us that. But what he hasn't shown us, and what we haven't seen David Morrell go through, is real adversity. Probably the closest thing that we've seen to that was him against Hot Rod, right? And he dealt with that. There was a little bit of frustration there for David Morrell in that fight. A little bit of frustration in that fight. Let's see if he can temper that frustration out. Let's see if he can become more patient. I'm going to say that David Morrell got caught in the lull that I think a lot of fighters get caught in, and that's the lull of success, the lack of adversity. The longer it goes that you don't have adversity, the harder it's going to be to deal with when it comes at you, right? The harder it's going to be when it comes at you, and it looks like David Morrell suffered that a little bit against Hot Rod, but hey, man, better against Hot Rod than against David Benavidez, right? So I say that to say maybe that was what he needed, that Hot Rod fight, to shake that off, to let him know and remind him boxing can be a very competitive sport. It's not always going to go your way, but what are you going to do when it gets hard? Well, in that fight against Hot Rod, he showed a little bit of frustration, wore his emotions a little bit on his shoulder. It looked like it altered the way he fought a little bit. David Benavidez is not Hot Rod. 2 separate fighters, of course. We got one fighter in David Benavidez who's going to be coming forward. He's going to be coming forward in this fight, right? Giving David Morrell a lot of opportunity to counter and land some shots. We're going to be looking for David Morrell's jab to play its role in this game. We're going to be looking for his footwork to play the role in this game. And at some point in the fight, we're going to be looking for his power, right? His power to play a role in this game. And we're going to see if he's able to execute on that. And of course, David Benavidez bringing in that experience. He's got power of his own, volume puncher. But I think the main thing that he's probably going to be bringing to the table is going to be that experience, right? It's going to be knowing what to do. Has he been faced with an adversity, though, like David Morrell? Has he? We'll see. Let me salute to my co-host back in the building. I'm sure he has some technical difficulties. Ray Davis in the building. Salute, King.
Salute, bro. Yo, this is what's up, man. What you talking about is fire. You know what I mean? Always listening. Even if I'm not there, I'm listening, y'all. I'm with y'all 100% through spirit, through the airwaves, through the motherfucking mental. We always there, Clay.
Oh, hold on. We got let me show some love to Freedom March. I didn't even realize we got some color in the chat. We got some color in the chat, man. Salute the Freedom March, man. Hey, yo, with the super sticker showing some love, man, with the mic drop, man. I appreciate you being in the building. You guys make sure you subscribe to Freedom's March, too. You know he loves to speak it. He speaks truth to power. That's what he does. You know what I mean? Speaks truth to power. Salute to Freedom's March in the building, man. Go ahead, Ray. You was about to build, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Listen, man, I love everything you're talking about, these fights coming up, man. And from Isaac Cruz to his opponent with
Angel
Fierro and Stephen Fulton and stuff, and now the battle with the Davids, bro. Listen, I love it. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I just like Morrell's chances. They got polls all over the internet. Pause. When I say polls, I mean voting polls, because some people get their minds out together.
Extra pause.
Right. But yeah, man, all over the internet, who they got, who's gonna win. And listen, man, this is an epic fight. Again, true 50-50 fight. Definitely a true 50-50 fight. I'm leaning towards Morrell due to styles of fights, but it can go either way. Like I said, man, we can get David Benavidez coming out the box, coming out being slick. We can get David Morrell going into deep waters, carrying Morrell into something deep, surprising the world with some boxing and knocking him out. We don't know what's going to happen as far as Hot Rod. As far as dude for the Benavidez, what's his name? I can't say.
Vosnik. Alexander Vosnik. Yes.
Those guys helped set this stage.
Did they? We got to talk about that. Big fights, bro. In reference to this fight right here, interesting fights at both these guys. I got goosebumps. Interesting fights that both these guys had before going into this fight. I think that plays a big part in it, Ray. Definitely something I wanted to bring up. You always read my mind, bro. Let me shout out to Gavin Goins real quick. Showing some love, put some color in the chat. Gavin Goins says Benavidez locked in. Promo shoot yesterday. Morrell pulled up in a fit. Benavidez pulled up in sweats and dirty running shoes. Wow. Is that what happened? That's interesting. So one guy came in ready for business, ready to do the work. Getting past all that's the experience though, right? That's the experience that David Benavidez is bringing to the table, to understand that I'm in fight mode. I'm not trying to build my status up. I'm not trying to build my face card up. I know what time it is. I'm showing you that I've been working my tail off this whole entire training camp, and I'm focused on you. There's nothing more important in this world than me hurting you. And you got David Morrell, who doesn't necessarily have the experience. He's still caught up in the limelight of showing out, having a great time, wearing the jewelry. He's caught up in the lights, trying to impress everybody. Does that affect him in the ring? I don't know, right? But I could tell you, coming from David Benavidez's side, the way I look at it as, I've been here before. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I don't care about how you're looking at me with the jewelry. I don't care about the fits. I'm past that. I did that a long time ago. This is a new day. I'm that guy, and I'm not playing with you. Hopefully, David Morrell's able to transition. Hopefully, the way he came in yesterday doesn't really represent the way he's looking at this fight, and he's looking at it for what it really is, which is the biggest fight of his career. It's going to take everything that he's learned over the years, all the tricks of the trade, all the pedigree, all the power. He has to make less mistakes here than he's ever made before. Everything counts in this fight, but we'll see what he does, man. Thanks, Gavin, for putting that up there. Much love, man. Hey, so yeah, back at what we were just saying, man. These fights that they were in, right? These fights that they were in showed a lot. Now, look, David Benavidez, first of all, are we going to give weight to David Benavidez's injuries that he went into that fight with against Vosnik? Are we going to acknowledge that and say that that altered and potentially gave us what we were looking at when we saw him in that fight? Because in that fight, people said, just like with Jerome Boots Ennis, all of a sudden he looked human. David was the monster everywhere else he's been in his career. He was the monster, but against Alexander Vosnik, he was not the monster. He was just another boxer. I mean, he won the fight on the back end of a win. The way we're going to talk about this, you might have thought he lost, but he didn't. He won the fight, but that performance made everybody look at him like, you know, this guy is human. Are we going to give weight to the injuries? Are we going to say that David Benavidez isn't the David? He wasn't 100%. He couldn't be the monster. Are we expecting the monster in this fight right here?
Nope. I think, yes, we're expecting him. Was it the fact that he wasn't the monster? No, he was the monster, injury or not. Me and you talk a lot, Clay, behind the scenes, and we always talk about, listen, you got an injury, postpone the fight. or give credence to it. I mean, obviously you don't want to show, play your cards out in front of anybody. It's poker, right? But if that is the case, Clay, why'd you get in the rope, between the ropes? You climbed in that circle, you got in there to work. You got in there to make, make money and put on a fight.
Salute, LaRon.
You know what I mean?
LaRon Jones, salute.
With all due respect, yes, he did go in there to fight. But at the same time, and shout out to Fly Frequency, at the same time, what did he do? He put on the performance that he did. It was a close fight, a good fight. It was a competitive fight, which I liked on both sides. He came out the victor, and that says a lot, right? It shows that where he was fighting at 168, in my opinion, he was bigger than anybody. He was the monster. Now he was up there with people that's his size, and it showed a different character of him. But he was able to show me that he has a different style,
a different gear that he can go into.
Bag, right? He had to utilize that. He had to get used to the power. Probably worried about what was coming back his way and things of that nature. But he won the fight. Like I said, at the end of the day, it showed us something. I like that question.
Yeah, man. Listen, man, these fights that they had at 175, both of them had their debut at 175, make a difference if you're going to try to figure out what to expect between these two guys. Now, clearly what David Benavidez has done at 168 pounds is going to be brought into the conversation as well. He was the monster at 168. He was dominating everybody, but it does look like at the end of the day, Vazic was the first fight that I can remember that he was in the ring with where, they were about the same height. Vazic in many ways even bigger than David Benavidez, you know what I'm saying? The more acclimated fighter whose only loss he had was against the current undisputed light heavyweight champion in Beterbiev, right? That was his only loss, and a lot of people felt like he was winning most of that fight until Beterbiev figured out the code, right? He figured out, the cheat code, and figured out how to ultimately end up stopping him. But look, at the end of the day, he showed that he can deal with the pressure. He was able to adapt and overcome punches in bunches, volume punching, coming forward, still trying to implement his game plan, still trying to be himself, but not finding as much success, I think, as we've seen him do in recent years at 168 pounds. But regardless of the factor, after the fight, after a win, by the way, and I think we should emphasize that, because sometimes when we talk about these things, you would have thought they lost. He didn't lose the fight, but he even acknowledged the analysts, the pugilists in the games, the pundits in the game, the boxing space acknowledged the humanity of David Benavidez and said, is this guy going to hold it down at 175 the way he did at 168? Canelo Alvarez stating to David Benavidez, the only thing you bring to me is 25 extra pounds on fight night, pretty much dismissing everything else, right? Dismissing the talent, dismissing the fact that this guy's a great boxer, and says, if it wasn't for the 25 pounds, you're not really much of a threat to me, bro. You're really, am I correct? You're not really. You're not really that much of a threat. But outside of that 25 pounds, you're not a threat. Well, David Benavidez is going to get a chance to show it Saturday night, right? Saturday night, he gets to show the world that it's a lot more than what it looks like. It's not just about the size. It's not just about the monster. Isn't only about my size. It's also about what's going on in my heart. It's also about the way I approach the fight game. And I'm going to show your so-called monster killer in David Morrell, the guy who you think is able to neutralize all those things that I bring to the table. He's got the boxing skills. He's got the pedigree. He's got the power. He's got all those things. Mm-hmm. Let's see if he's able to go ahead and figure out the cheat code against David Benavidez. But let me ask you this. Outside of the size that he brings, to the table, right? Outside of, him being the biggest dude in the ring normally, now that he's not in the ring, he's going to have to tap into some other things. Does David Benavidez bring a lot more to the table than the fact that he's a weight bully? And I'm not calling him one, but I am saying that off of what Canelo Alvarez is saying, and a lot of his detractors are saying, you're just tall. You got long arms. You're bigger than everybody else. What the hell are you supposed to do? That you're doing what you're supposed to do. What do you want me to give you credit for being tall? What do you think? Ray?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. He brings hand speed and experience, bro. Footwork ain't that great, but the hand speed and experience is there. He may do enough with the footwork that he has to be able to stay elusive. To be able to show up. His defense ain't too shabby either. You know what I mean? It ain't like he get hit a lot. You know what I mean? He does block a lot of punches. He puts his eye guard up. But, you know what I mean? He's fighting a powerful puncher and a guy that has a lot of creativity when he needs to. So we'll have to see how this goes. But, yeah, I think he does. Yeah, he has more in the bag. Absolutely.
I think without a doubt, David Benavidez brings more to the table than his physical presence. He definitely has great combinations. He throws a lot of combinations. He has great conditioning that he's shown. Even though in the last fight against Alexander Vosik, we saw that conditioning starting to wear and tear on him a little bit as we got into the later rounds. But he still was the more present, conditioned fighter at the end of the fight. Vosnik was definitely way more tired, and Benavidez, it didn't stop Benavidez or discourage him from letting his hands go. He let his hands go consistently through the fight, but he does bring that conditioning. He brings the combinations that he throws. At times, you've seen of David Benavidez footwork be questionable. Right, it's been questionable at times. That's why David Morrell's talking about that RoboCop type energy that he brings to the table. That he just kind of comes forward and exactly he does that. But listen, man, he's been in the ring sparring wise with some of the best fighters in the world, and we're talking about ever since he was like 15, 16 years old. You know, stories of him in Bivol and other great fighters, Olympians that he's outshined in the ring, right? Fighting big fighters like Zurdo Ramirez, right? Like he's been in the ring with a lot of different type of people, and he's been able to show improved. That's what the urban legend is, right? When people speak about David Benavidez, they don't only speak about what he's done in the ring at 168, but they also speak about him in sparring, that he's been doing this at a very, very young age. Because let's be honest, I don't think David Benavidez has too much of an amateur experience. He doesn't really have an amateur pedigree. He pretty much, had a couple of amateur fights and went right into being a pro as soon as he could. His father put him in that situation. That being said, David Morrell, on the other hand, brings power. We know that. When you think about David Morrell, you think about power, you think about people getting stopped. But what else does David Morrell bring to the table?
Ooh, I'm glad you said that, which a lot of people never really got a chance to see. David Morrell he is a true boxer. He has great footwork. He sets up shots. He rolls with plans, right? A lot of people don't even realize that. If you actually even watch him on the pads or watch him punch in the bag, you watch his movements. He's a very slick Cuban fighter. He does utilize his power more so because I guess he knows to get the guy out of there. He don't want to play with his food. He don't want to take a chance. Maybe that's to cover up some weaknesses he may have in defense. I don't know. I've never seen him clipped where, except for I think Hot Rod got him once, not dizzy, but he hit him a couple times where you thought, man, this is a fight, but he survived it, right? It wasn't like he was woozy, he was about to fall out or anything, but I've never seen him where he got off balance and off his game.
Mm-hmm.
Pressured, he still came forward. It looked like he had to figure it out. It looked like his game plan was lost, but eventually he got through it, right? So I think he does have more than power. I think he has like all the attributes of being a boxer, especially he was a former Olympian too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Was he in the Olympics?
I think he was a former. I don't know if he won, but I think he was
sure.
But either way, maybe even Pan American Games. I'm not sure. I know he was some type of Olympic pedigree as an amateur. But regardless of him getting into the games or anything like that, the real games, the real Olympics, I don't know. But I do know for a fact. No, you don't think he was. Okay, thank you, Secret Dance Move. Appreciate it. But I think he has some history somewhere in the amateurs where he has a ton of fights. And he comes out of a great school in Cuba. So we'll have to see, Clay. We really have to see how this works out because this could work in his favor or it could also be the worst thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think David Morrell, look, I happen to think that the pedigree that he's gotten from his amateur experience in Cuba is going to make a difference in his fight. David Morrell has shown his athleticism, he has great footwork, he's shown his ability to bring it back to the basics and get back to his fundamentals when he has to, but he's also been lulled into just a false sense of security as far as getting away from that, being a little reckless at times, throwing his punches a little bit wide. I've seen him do these things, and I've always questioned what these things were going to look like against a David Benavidez at 168. People are always pressuring to put him in the ring with David Benavidez at 168, and I always questioned what that was going to look like. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. Up until this point, I pretty much thought that David Morrell was just not ready for David Benavidez. Just like as much as everybody was pushing him to go ahead and fight David Benavidez, I've always put his experience up at the top. But today is a little bit of a different day. You know, there's more experience in between that time and now, and this is a different weight class as well. David Morrell is more of a natural 175 pounder, in my opinion. I'm gonna be real with you. He seems more natural at 175. David Benavidez looks like he's getting comfortable on the weight. You know, he's going up, but he just seems like a big dude. Like, you know, David Benavidez is talking about going up to fight Zerto Ramirez. He's even, you know, talked about ultimately ending up as a heavyweight, whereas I think David Morrell might have found his spot. I think light heavyweight may be his spot. Maybe cruiserweight at some point, but this seems to be like more of the natural weight of where he belongs. I'm wondering what that's going to translate like into the ring with him, right? So it is what it is, though. Let me see what we got going on in the chat right here. Let me keep up with everybody in the chat. Salute to Lauren Jones in the building. Jonathan97, salute, King. How are you? JR Spock says, other than the height and size, I feel like Benavidez's best aspects is his tempo and commitment to attack. 100%, JR. I think that's what he brings to the table, and David's going to have to figure a way to slow that down. Morrell, that is, right? David Morrell's going to have to figure out how to slow that down. Guys, if David Benavidez is able to go all out Armageddon, full force, come forward, punches in bunches, consistently putting pressure on David Morrell, then it could be a short night for David Morrell, or dare I say a long night for David Morrell, because in those latter rounds, in rounds between 7 and 12, it can get real exhausting dealing with somebody who's just pressing you the whole entire fight. David Morrell's going to have to find a way to slow David Benavidez down. Easier to say than to actually do it, obviously, being who David Benavidez is and what he brings to the table. But I would expect that David Morrell is going to be stabbing him to the body, trying to take the gas out of his tank, trying to discourage him, slow him down, and then ultimately probably trying to walk him into some straight right hands. I think David Morrell is going to have to be a straight puncher in this fight. I think all those looping wide shots that he's been known to do in the past is going to hurt him in this fight, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. If he does that, David Benavidez, you know, you guys know how the saying goes, right? The fastest way between 2 points is what? A straight line. You're sitting here looping shots. David Benavidez is coming right down the middle, fast, short punchings. That's what David Benavidez is known for. When he's doing his volume punches, they're short, real tight, short punches, and he lets them go. Wide punches, wide hooks coming from either direction. Who's going to connect first most of the time? Probably David. So if you get David Benavidez into a position to where, I said probably David, if David Benavidez, probably Benavidez. If you're getting him in a position to where you guys are getting into a melee and what you're bringing in is these looping hooks and he's bringing in these straight shots, I'm expecting David Benavidez to win those trading sessions. So David Morrell is going to have to probably stab him to the body a lot in this fight, take the gas out of his tank, slow him down, don't allow him to get that momentum on his side, and ultimately get David Benavidez overcommitting to being offensive and walking him into something pretty nasty, and something straight, by the way, something straight right down the middle. What do you think, Ray?
Absolutely. I think that is the plan of David Benavidez to do so. The problem is if he's backing up too much and he just has his high guard up, he's in a world of trouble. Right. I think he will be. I think David Morrell is a great. He utilizes the jab to create distance. A lot of fakes in that. I think he attacks the body. I think his whole margin is to attack the body on David Benavidez, who's going to be in a high guard most of the time, trying to protect his block from getting knocked off. So, right. I think this is the game plan. I think that's where we see the how the conditioning is of a David Benavidez when he does go through these transformations of his work. Does that play a part into keeping him from going into the deep rounds? And if he does go to the deep rounds, does that change the game? Does that put Morrell ahead on of going into the later part of the fight and being a dominant fighter, being able to get a knockout or a stoppage? But then again, David Benavidez, like you said, he likes to throw the jab. He likes to keep his hands moving. He likes to keep you thinking of what's coming next. Keep busy while he's there. And by him doing so, that also creates a problem for Morrell. Because if you're blind, you can't see what you're hitting, right? Right. So that creates a problem in another sense. So we have to see how this plays out. David Benavidez is not really a person that utilizes the jab much. So we have to see how this does. If he lets that gap close, how Morrell attacks. That's where it depends on what Morrell does offensively as opposed to what David Benavidez does defensively, because his offense is always going to be there.
Right. 100%, man. I agree. I love the breakdown, man. But you said something interesting of the jab of David Benavidez. I think it's going to play an important point in this fight for him. I think he's going to have to sit on that jab and use that jab to set up everything. He's going to have to do it to establish a distance. He's not going to want this fight to be a mid-range fight. I think with David Morrell. Well, actually, that's a question. What do you think? Do you think he wants this to be a mid-range fight, or does he want to establish a distance? Because, look, David Morrell has the reach in this fight. Not a lot, like 2 or 3 inch reach on him, but, the inches count when you're talking about big fights like that, pause. You know what I mean? They count, right? So David Morrell probably wants to keep the distance, wants to leave that power at where he can extend his arm, and, that power's right there where he's able to twist that hand and just kind of connect at the right time. That's where the power's at. He doesn't probably want to keep this fight mid-range. Well, David Benavidez, even if he wants to clear the void and make this a mid-range fight, he's going to have to come in with that jab. The jab is going to have to open up the lanes for him to be able to go ahead and do that. And like you said, I've not noticed or ever thought that he was the big jab guy. He's jabbed. David Benavidez has a decent little jab, but I've never seen him really depend on it. He's always been able to be in the mid-range. You know what I'm saying? Actually, he's been fighting fighters who probably want the fight to be mid-range because they're normally shorter than him, have shorter arms, and that's what he want the fight to be. So he's never had to depend on having to clear the range. He kind of just let them in almost, and then, have them where he wants them to be. This one, he's going to have to actually clear that range. He's going to have to use that jab to clear the range and make this a mid-range fight. David Morrell, once again, having the ability to play off that, right? Sticking him to the body with those with those straight with those long arms, with that right jab, with that right hand just coming right down the middle, sticking him to the body, making sure those shots are heavy and have bad intentions on them, and then ultimately, hopefully, forcing him, like I said, to overcommit to something and walking into a straight left hand. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Something straight, right? So. Let me ask you this. Let me answer this. Kalia World, salute to you, Queen. Good to see you in the building. Says, do you think the weight of David Benavidez is going to slow him down? That's a good question, Kalia. That's a good question, man, because he's putting on this weight. He is putting on this weight. And like I told you guys, I think David Morrell is the more natural 175er. I think he's still athletic at 175. I still think he's athletic like he was at 168. I don't think he slows down. I think, matter of fact, him fighting at 175 might make him a better fighter, more conditioned. I think he's cutting a little bit of weight to make that 168. And that 175 might be that sweet spot, kind of like Tank does with 135, where Tank is walking around at like 139. You know what I'm saying? 140, 141, kind of how Floyd used to do it. Floyd would never waste his time during camps making weight because he was walking around on weight. He fought at the perfect weight class. 147 was just perfect. He was walking around about 150 to 160. When it was time for him to make weight, he was usually in weight inside the first 2 to 3 weeks of his camp. I'm thinking this is potentially what we're looking at with David Morrell. David Benavidez, I still think cuts weight, but has he gotten comfortable with cutting weight the right way? Could he be slower? Could he be slower
yes.
at 175?
I love that question. And I was shaking my head like, bro, that was the best question of the day. Let me tell you, this is what's going to happen. He's going to balloon up. He's going to try to put on weight to try to match some of the power that Morrell's going to throw back at him to keep his balance. He's going to try to pull Tyson Fury, maybe even lean on Morrell a little bit to try to wear him down. He can easily get back up to 200. You know what I mean? Easily. And I'm pretty sure David Morrell is probably around 200 to 190. We seen him go over 200 when he fought Boo Boo Andre, right? He went over. So I could see him easily going over. I could see him easily putting on extra weight to try to make sure that he's the bigger guy in that ring. He's the cushion. He's able to do that. So he can create that mid-range. He could force him to come in and want that combination of contact where he wants to be able to keep Morrell at a certain distance. But we'll see it. We'll see the temperament and the temperament and the discipline of Morrell at the same time. Does he fall for the bait, or does he stay outside? And like you said, like you was just saying, like I was, I can't speak today. It's a coffee, dog. Or like I was referring to earlier, does he use that jab to feint and then attack the body from a distance, and then, you know what I mean, when Benavidez gets against the ropes, close the distance? That's what I'm looking to see Morrell do.
Yeah, I'm thinking David Morrell, his team should be focused on testing everything with David Benavidez. Let's test his conditioning. Let's test how comfortable he is at 175. Let's make him earn everything that he gets. You know what I mean? He's a big dude. He's the guy who's walking around, probably, like you said, ballooning up, overweight. He's cutting weight. He's doing all these things. Let's test the conditioning. Let's attack that gas tank. Let's make him clear the range. Let's not give him nothing easy. Let's keep this at a distance. Let's save our energy as well for the later rounds. We know that he likes to turn up round 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the championship rounds, especially like between 9 and 12. He likes to turn up. He likes to go ahead and test the conditioning of his opponent. So let's save our energy a little bit, right? Let's go ahead and win these rounds, save our energy so we're able to go ahead and meet power with power, you know what I'm saying, conditioning with conditioning when the time is right, because we're expecting David Benavidez to turn on the engine of some sort, right? We expect him to get a second wind at some point in this fight. He's going to try to take advantage of that. Great question, Kalia World, on that one, man, without a doubt, man. Shout out to Thomas Hill in the good family. Everything good with you. What you got on here? Thomas says he brings savvy old school tactics like posting, framing, and peeling the guard. He has a very educated feet. He punches to whenever his opponents are open. Benavidez is sound, and he also has an active guard. And I hear what you're saying. I'm not going to lie to you. When it comes to the educated feet, I'm a little in the middle on the fence on that one a little bit. I think he does. I like what you're saying about him posting and framing. You know, he does throw the punches. I think we're going to see David Morrell probably try to take advantage, and we're going to find out how educated his feet are in this fight. Because what David Morrell is going to do is he's going to use his footwork, which is tried true. He has great footwork. He's going to keep David Benavidez turning. He's going to keep him moving around, and let's see if David is able to keep up with that, with the athleticism of what David Morrell is going to bring to the table, as well as the consequences that he's able to go ahead and give David Benavidez when he does cross those feet, when he does stand up square. You know what I'm saying? On David Morrell, let's see what he does with that. But I agree with you, though, that he does bring a lot of good tactics to this fight. 50-50 fight for a reason, without a doubt. Salute to Teach in the building.
Salute Beach.
Salute to Big Dre in the building. Big Dre. OJBT.
Jose Diaz, salute.
Yeah, for sure. Salute Jose Diaz. Jose H. Marino, amigos, this fight is going to. Okay, I started reading it before I put it up there. Salute to Jose H. Moreno. I hope I'm saying that right. I try to say it with the right accent. Welcome to the channel, man. I hope you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already, man. Welcome to the family. Let me read what you got to share here. He says, amigos. Hey, guys, in Spanish, that means friends. Hey, I'm talking to a versatile dude here, bro. Like, I do this. You know what I'm saying? Amigos, this fight is going to end up bad for Morrell. Oh, por favorito. Is that how he said it? I don't know. Benavidez,
I wouldn't say porcito, but it's okay.
I took that from Scarface, man. I don't know. He said something like that, Scarface. Cool. I hope it means something that fits in. Anyways, Benavidez stops by the 7th round. Mexican monster coming to town.
Yay. All right. 7th round. What up, Rick Timms in the building.
Salute, Rick. Salute. Timms in the building. Shout out to you, Jose Moreno. No doubt, man. Look, man, both these guys have a path to victory. Clearly, they both have a path to victory. That's what makes this fight so great. That's why you always got to celebrate a David Benavidez. You got to celebrate a Errol Spence Jr. You got to celebrate those fighters who go at their biggest oppositions, who invite them to the squared circle to prove their point. We don't always get to see fighters fighting their prime. This is one of those fights, and it definitely doesn't happen if David Benavidez doesn't put out the olive branch, man. It's a gift to the boxing space, 100%. Oh, Bub's Boxing back in the building.
You got another comment. Not this comment. The next comment.
He's a favorite. He's a favorite.
I know he's my boy, but I want to go to the next comment. We don't want to see this. We ain't talking about this now.
All right. We'll move on. Shout out to you, Bub. We'll get to Tank a little bit later. We're going to talk about Tank a little bit later. Paulie Malinaggi speaking on Tank's resume, throwing shots a little bit. A very crazy, intense, in-depth interview with Fight Hub and Paulie Malinaggi speaking on the Tank Davis resume. We'll talk about that a little bit later, of course. But Thomas Hill says, yet That being said, Morrell has enough in the bag to win. He just has to first recognize that Benavidez is much more than that. What's that? Well, he puts it in quotes, RoboCop. He's much more than a RoboCop. And prepare for a dangerous fighter in that ring and keep his head off the damn line.
Is he though? Is he more than RoboCop?
Let's talk about it. I mean, is he?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, right? But what does he do other than what he has done and always done? He hasn't been tested for us to know if he's more than RoboCop, except for one time, and he still was RoboCop. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? I don't know what to expect from Benavidez. You know what I mean? I don't know. I got to see his shuffles. I got to see his turns. I got to see his pivots. I got to see his slide outs. You know what I mean? His parries. I got to see all that. All I see is Benavidez is this.
Yeah.
This. And then this. That's it. 3 moves. You know what I mean? Other than that, I don't see much. I'm not saying he doesn't have it. Let's be clear. And you know, that's me joking around a little bit. I'm not saying he doesn't have these things. He's obviously a boxer. He came up not just doing those 3 things, but when you grow accustomed to things, Clay, right? You become what? Oh, you say it. You was on point. We set that up. But anyway, you become a creature of nature, right? So when you become a creature of your own thing, you continue to do the same habit. Thank you. Creature of habit. And when you're continuing to doing the same thing over and over and over because it's successful, we had this same opportunity where he's going to rely on what he has done. And when you rely on the things that you do, you're able to get outboxed or outpointed by people. Now, he has fought the Boo Andres. He has fought the Caleb Plants. And look what happened when people move on him before they get tired. They take advantage of him and pause. And they take the necessary shots. Now you're talking about a guy that has equal power in the same size. These guys aren't smaller. I mean, Davis, these guys were smaller. Davis the same size, if not bigger, with a longer arm reach. So this could be very detrimental to his career. This could be challenging the brain damage, if I'm not mistaken. But then again, we have a guy that likes to set up different things. He likes to come out and show that he has different styles of fighting, right? Which we haven't seen yet, and we will find out. So this is why I always think that Canelo will beat Benavidez. We're going to find out this weekend.
Man, definitely, man. I agree with you on something, Ray, right? Like, until we see it, we don't know. And the reality is, I don't remember seeing David Benavidez in front of a fighter that's forcing him to show that kind of footwork. I mean, it was a little bit there with Boo Boo. I think with Boo Boo, he was using his footwork a lot more in that fight. But this is going to be the consequences are there, right? And with the consequences being there, whatever happened between Boo Boo Andrade and David Benavidez, I don't feel like ever at any point in that fight David Benavidez was aware of any type of danger, imminent danger that's coming back from Boo Boo Andrade. He gave him a lot of confidence. He was able to, he made some mistakes in that fight, but Boo Boo wasn't able to make him pay for those mistakes in a bad way. David Morrell's able to do that, right? He's able to make him pay in a real bad way for those mistakes, even though David Benavidez has shown his ability to learn. He's a great student of the game. If you watch the video with the interview, I don't know if you guys caught the interview with him and Andre Ward on All the Smoke or All About Boxing. I can't remember what the name of the show is, but Andre Ward was, what is it called?
All the Smoke.
All the Smoke, right? So there was a part in the video where, you know, Andre's actually showing him some things in the ring. It looks like what Andre Ward was teaching him was how to clear that space, right? And he was explaining how he everything was off the back of that jab, that the jab gave him the ability to step in, make certain moves, get angles, find a way out when he was in danger, and take advantage of a fighter in front of him that left these holes. And David was, by the way, and I thought it was interesting because David was learning and asking questions about it, right? What does that mean? To me, what that means is that David Benavidez, a certain part of him was recognizing this area that he wasn't that familiar in, right? And so he had Andre Ward kind of sharing with him, being that Andre Ward has always been a decent height person, but he's got short arms. He's really not a long arm person, so he's always had to have like tricks on how he was going to go ahead and make the fight a mid-range fight, get in clean and get out clean. And David Benavidez was pretty much taking notes from him, but I'm going to keep it real with you. By the end of that session, David picked it up. He picked up the jab, the doubling up on the jab, moving his head off the line, coming in, turning, pivoting off his left foot or pivoting off his right foot to take advantage of him. He learned it. And Andre was like, there it is. You're a quick learner. So let's see the new things that David Benavidez brings to this fight. I want to see if David Benavidez has made the adjustments, because I'm telling you guys, I don't believe that David Benavidez, who beat Caleb Plant, who beat Andre, Boo Boo Andrade, who beat these fighters, is necessarily the same David Benavidez is going to be able to beat this version of a David Morrell, a motivated David Morrell that steps in front of him. He's going to have to adjust. He's going to have to adjust in this fight. It's going to have to happen. We're going to see if that team over there at the Benavidez team was able to go ahead and put together a strategy that makes sense. But with David Morrell still up on the screen here, talking about what else does he bring besides the power, Ray? Just kind of getting right back to that. What else does David Morrell bring to the table? I think we spoke about his pedigree, that amateur pedigree. He brings real great footwork, right? Angles, athleticism to the ring. He's going to have to use all those things Saturday night to win this fight. Am I right or am I wrong?
And yes, absolutely. You know what most importantly he brings to the ring? Pressure. And I don't mean that as a physical pressure. I mean mental.
Right.
He's got the power punch of a Mike Tyson, of a Gervonta Davis. So that on the other side of the fence, right? We already heard Benavidez talking about steroids and this and that and being tested and all this power. He recognizes that he has power. How does that play mentally into Benavidez' head until he gets in the ring and feels that power, or he knows how to move against that power, or he accepts, you know what I mean, and able to retreat on that power, catch or parry and pivot off that power. That's going to be the case. Until it happens, he's going to be worrisome. He's going to be worrisome, and that's going to create a whole bunch of doubt on certain things as we're looking that fight to go forward. And Benavidez, tongue-tied again. As we're looking for David Benavidez to go forward and try to capitalize on some details and some reactions in the fight to a Morrell. Morrell brings the mental challenge. I think he wins to that key victory on that part of the fight. And on top of that, I got David for the win.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we'll see if you're right? Because if David better not lose, I know that. David better not lose. This guy here, man. That being said, man, shout out to Jose Diaz in the building as well, man. He said some pretty interesting things here, but I wanted to comment on here what Thomas Hill said here. He said, somewhat true, Clay, but we never see Morrell on the back foot, so it will be a battle of wills and adjustments. And I think that's another part of this fight where I'm not going to lie to you. I do believe that it's going to be about, I think David Morrell can fight off his back foot. But you're right, though. He's normally the guy who's putting the pressure. He's normally the guy who's coming forward, but he has that ability and not necessarily be on his back foot, but with the lateral movement, his ability to turn David Benavidez, what could be looking like he's on his back foot could turn into David Benavidez actually being set up to walk into something pretty bad with a fighter who brings that athleticism of David Morrell. But I don't know how David Benavidez looks on his back foot. I think that goes the other way as well. How does who pushed David Benavidez back? How does David Benavidez look on his back foot? Will David Morrell be able to put David Benavidez on his back foot and have him actually getting away from danger? What do you think about the statement Thomas made there, Ray?
Well, let's correct that theory, because Hot Rod actually was able to push Morrell back at certain times in that fight. How did he adjust? He won the fight. So he actually has been and made adjustments. As far as David Benavidez, he always fights on the back foot, more so than a little bit, but he's not really fighting off the back foot. He's fighting moving backwards to the point where, the same thing, where he's looking for a counter, but he usually just gets on the ropes and he stands forward, right? And then he starts moving forward as he starts dominating the fight. But usually he smothers up and he just lets you tee off and wear yourself out. Then, and I mean, I don't know if you consider that really back foot, right? Because he's really just kind of countering and just moving. He's really just shelling up and letting you punch yourself out before you attack. Right. So, exactly. I mean, it is fighting on the back foot, but he's not really fighting. We've never seen him in that ring where he had to fight going backwards either, right? And he doesn't have the reach to do so. So, bro, it's going to be an interesting fight. I don't want to talk no more. David for the win. I'm calling it. I got $100 on David. Anybody want to take the bet, let me know.
It is what it is. Shout out to Thomas Hill in the building. It's an interesting fight, man. It can go either way, man. What does it say here? They have tested Morrell 15 days in a row, everything negative. Oh yeah, man. We're no longer talking about the
PEDs, right?
The PEDs. This is no longer an excuse. It is what it is. Benavidez has never been under the lights with anyone like this. I agree. I think this is a real threat. I don't think David Benavidez has been. I don't know. This fight here is adversity. That's what should be the word over this fight. Adversity.
Yes.
David Benavidez and both David Morrell are both going to face adversity in this fight, man. And whoever is able to deal with that adversity is probably going to be the person who comes out on the other side of this fight with a victory. And big rewards on the other side of this victory. A win here puts the winner in a conversation of fighting the winner between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, which is going down in a couple of weeks as well. So a lot of weight behind this fight, a lot of opportunities for glory, legacy, big paydays, because now you got Turkey Al-Sheikh in the conversation. You got all types of things going on the back end of this victory. I'm just too excited, just entirely way too excited about this fight happening, right? But let's move on to another fight on this card that I think is going to be very interesting. We'll take this here to 126 pounds.
Man.
Stephen Fulton, who at first,
pounds less?
Yeah,
50 pounds less? Was it something like that? Crazy.
What are you talking about?
49 pounds less.
What are you talking about?
49. These guys, they're 49 pounds south of what the other fight was.
Oh, yeah. We're going all the way down to 126. You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind, Stephen Fulton, a champion at 122 at one point in time. We saw what happened with him and Monster in a way. He made his return. Let me get this down correctly. When was this? When was this again? Stephen Fulton. Was it the end of the year?
Cool boy shit. Yeah. It was
September. It was in September, right? He fought against right, exactly. That he fought on the Canelo Alvarez Edgar Berlanga card. That's the card he fought under. And a split decision victory, right? Against Carlos Castro, but the crowd really kind of like boo, wasn't too happy with the decision, as Carlos Castro was able to sit him on his pockets and buckle him a couple of times in that fight. We saw, in my opinion, a different Stephen Fulton show up that night, right? A different Stephen Fulton. Hold on, let me just this super chat right here. Real Prison Talk with Tommy. Salute. Tommy says, if Morrell fights tall, long, and fast, he will win with faster feet and reach. Yeah. I agree, man. I agree, man. Salute to you, Real Prison Talk with Tommy. I appreciate the love and the color in the chat, man. Thank you for supporting the channel, man. I appreciate you, King. Anybody else, feel free to put some color in the chat, right? But back to the lecture at hand. Perfection is perfect. Anyway, Stephen Fulton, coming off of a controversial win against what is it, Carlos Castro? What was it again? Yeah, Carlos Castro back in September. Got sat on his pockets, really got hit a lot more than I've ever seen him get hit. I've always pictured Stephen Fulton to be a high level of pedigree, a high level of heart, skills, finesse, the way he boxed, but it seems like in this fight he brought a lot more heart than pedigree when he fought against Castro. We're trying to prove something, and some people might say he got exposed to a certain degree. Now, you also know who's behind Stephen Fulton in Bozy Ennis, and you know that we've been talking about Bozy a lot lately. We've been watching you, Bozy. Salute to you. We got a lot of respect for you, but been watching Bozy Ennis as he's been working with Andy Cruz, obviously with Stephen Fulton now, and his son Boots Ennis, and noticing that the fighters coming out of that stable are getting touched a lot more than I think they probably should be getting touched. And he's changing fighters like Andy Cruz and in this case Stephen Fulton from what I believe is naturally what they normally do, which is they box, they're finessing, they're moving around, and you're finding that they're sitting in the pockets a little bit more. They're fighting mid-range a lot more often. They're trying to get that power off, sitting on their punches, trying to stop their opponents. This is going to be the second time that Stephen Fulton steps in the ring with Brandon Figueroa. Figueroa, who's been on a trajectory going upwards, getting better. They're meeting again here at 126 pounds. Brandon Figueroa bringing his WBC title to the ring, right? And giving Stephen Fulton an opportunity to becoming a champion in the division. But I believe he's actually the interim WBC title holder, right? So the winner of this fight,
champion. I think he's champion now.
Is he? That's what I'm saying. It's always been up in the air. What's going on with that?
What's his name's on recess, so he got the belt. He actually ended up getting the belt. What's his name? He just got put in recess. Dude,
Although Shaky's the current WBC champion.
No.
126.
No,
126.
Not Figueroa.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Ray Vargas.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a recess. So Figueroa is the champion.
All right. So Stephen Fulton gets an opportunity to actually at an actual belt in this fight right here.
This is actually for the title, believe it or not.
Right.
So even though he hasn't been awarded the title yet,
right,
this is the fight for the championship.
Right. It's a big fight for Stephen Fulton. But we've noticed, I don't know, what did you in that Carlos Castro fight? Don't you think he fought with a lot of heart in that fight, right? Put his heart on that fight.
Listen, he fought with a lot of heart in the first Brandon Figueroa fight. A lot of people felt that Brandon Figueroa. What's up? 2 cents in the building. 2 cents boxing to be correct. Mr. in the building. Salute to the queen. Yeah, absolutely. He was out there when he fought him the first time. You know what I mean? A lot of people thought that was a tough fight. Could have went either way. I did see Stephen winning that fight. I thought he did a little bit more, especially that I think they both sat down on the canvas too. That fight. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like one of sat down. I think they both got sat down. Right. So it was definitely a rumble, as they say in Philly, and they was able to pack the building out. And I think this actually is going to be similar. I actually was thinking that Figueroa was going to win this fight. But I think sometimes mentally, when you lose to somebody, it plays a part in how you approach them the next time, and it causes mistakes. So I think Fulton actually capitalized on some of the same things he did. I think he tries to remember. I think he gets a little weird early because he tries to listen to Bozy, but then he falls back onto that pedigree of how he beat Figueroa before, and he regains the title of being a WBC champion.
So, I mean, it does sound like you're basically saying that Stephen Fulton is going to get refamiliarized with Brandon Figueroa, and once he realizes who he's fighting in the ring with, he's going to remember and reference things that worked for him in the last match should work for him in this match. They have a relationship, right? So it might take a round or 2 or 3 for him to get familiarized and remember this guy, but the same. So are you saying you think it's the same Brandon Figueroa who he fought at 122?
Absolutely. He never changed.
Added. Okay.
He never changed. I watched his fights soon after. I watched him when he fought for the interim title. He's never changed. His next fight was at 126, from 122 to 126. So he moved right up. He just felt that he was just too heavy for the weight, and he had trouble making weight. So, with that being said, what does he have to change? He was successful this whole time. He just had one falter, which was a close fight in his opinion. Right? Could have went either way. No fighter thinks they lose. We know that when it comes to decisions. So at that point that Stephen Fulton did beat him, it plays a part. It always plays a part because it's that cringe moment that you live with, and you want that revenge so bad that it becomes too sweet, and you bite off more than you can chew sometimes. And I think this is the part where Stephen Fulton realizes he's going to have the same patterns, same certain things that he's seen before, and he's going to be able to stay away from it. Doesn't mean that he won't get slugged or punched or knocked down by something. It just means that he's going to stay on once he gets that muscle memory back of what he likes to do, he's going to dominate that fight.
Interesting. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do think that Brandon Figueroa has improved. Is he the same fighter? I mean, look, he's coming with that energy, 100%. He's coming with that energy to come and stop somebody. Out of his last 3 fights, he's had a knockout and a TKO. And he went 12 rounds with Mark Magsayo. But ultimately, that fight, he was kind of looking like he slowed down a little bit. I remember that fight. I watched that one as well. But, he did return with Jesse Magdaleno and really kind of like turn up and show like, I still got that killer instinct. Taking his time. You got to think coming off of a loss with Stephen Fulton, you kind of recalibrate who you are a little bit and recalibrate and get that confidence back into into who you are and that being efficient and working for you. But I'm not going to lie to you. I question as to whether or not Stephen Fulton has regressed since his loss against Monster Inoue. Has he become a different fighter? Did he lose it? He's not fighting the same way. He's fighting way more aggressive. He's sitting in the pocket a lot more. He's exchanging with these mid-range fights. It's looking like Philadelphia like sparring sessions. You know what I mean? Like these dog rules, house rules sparring sessions, and he's paying for it. He's getting hit with certain shots. He's getting hurt by these shots, and he's still coming through with that same aggression. A lot of that Bozy Ennis, Boots Ennis energy is starting to kind of shake off on him. I think he's more aggressive now than he was with Brandon Figueroa in that last fight. I think Brandon Figueroa, even though they had their moments, he seems like he's stuck he still carried some pedigree with him. I mean, you're saying that it was a doghouse fight with them.
The first fight was yes, absolutely. The first fight they were toe to toe. I think what we see here is that, like you just mentioned, the anyway part. I think that was a setback, and I think that's the reason why we seen him in that type of fight with Carlos Campos, right? Carlos Campos, my bad. Castro. That was my boy name, Carlos Campos. My bad, but Carlos Castro. And when I say that is, I think that his mindset was, how did I get in this situation? Boxers like to challenge themselves sometimes coming off of losses to see if they can bounce back. I think he got cautious once he got that knockdown because he was in the face of Carlos Castro the whole fight. And once he got that knockdown, he was like, okay, I need to go back to realize what I'm doing. He did take a step back. He started fighting off the counter, and that's what he does. He's a great counter puncher. He's really good with his feet, and he's not a great defensive fighter. Let's be clear. Stephen Fulton has never been the greatest of defensive fighters. He just had really fast hands, really quick feet, and a great counter. So now we're going to get to see that in action again for the second time against a guy he defeated for the WBC title to wear that crown. And I think we see that again. Did he take the WBC off Figueroa, I think, because he was the WBO champion. So I think he took that strap from him, or they were just fighting for it regardless. But I think this is what we see at this point, where we see both of these guys, and it can go either way. I'm not rooting against Figueroa. I think my mind going into the fight was Figueroa was going to win. But I think now we're looking at the opposite end, where what does Schoolboy Steph have to do? Absolutely nothing. Just be who he is, who he was, and what he knows what to do. He just got to get his cadence back on Figueroa, and he got this win. As far as Figueroa's side, I mean, we'll touch on that if you want, real quick. Figueroa just has to be the aggressor. He has to be the aggressor that he's clear to be. He has to sit on his punches more. Stephen Fulton's there to be hit. You know what I mean? It's not like he's running from you. You know what I mean? He feels like he's a pocket fighter and he can move. Now, does his aggression of offense cause Figueroa to have an easier term in the ring with a, you know what I mean? That's where we have to look at. Does Bosie's press of aggression for Fulton cause Figueroa to have problems? That's where we have to see where it's going to go down at. That can give Figueroa the edge. That can give him the turn that he needs in his mental to say, look, this guy is beatable. I knew I had him the first time, whatever the case may be, and here we go.
Man, I agree with you, man. Great breakdown, man. I ain't going to lie to you, man. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I do think, I'm not lying to you, I'm leaning towards Brandon Figueroa I don't even know if it would be considered an upset. An upset victory in this fight. But look, man, I think that Stephen Fulton's new approach to this pocket presence, this ability to stop everybody that he's looking to show the world he can do. I think at 126, it's just not translating the same like it may have done in certain opportunities at 122, even with Brandon Figueroa. I think at 126, Brandon Figueroa brings that edge, man. And I think this works right down stylistically, works for Brandon Figueroa to have a Stephen Fulton with this mindset. I'd like to see Stephen Fulton definitely operate off of that boxing, off that footwork, finessing. He can, be effective mid-range, you know what I mean? But I mean, ultimately, don't give Brandon Figueroa anything. Make him earn whatever he's going to get from him. Now, Brandon Figueroa, the taller guy, longer arm reach. I'm expecting him to take advantage of a Stephen Fulton who's thinking that he's a pocket fighter and be like, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to set things up with the jab, but I'm going to allow you to go ahead. And as you're trying to focus on clearing the range and making this mid-range and being a pocket puncher, I'm going to focus on walking you into something nasty. And if you're going to have that energy, that's probably what's ultimately going to happen. If Carlos Castro was able to sit Stephen Fulton on his pockets, I found no reason to believe that Brandon Figueroa doesn't think he could do the same thing. You know what I mean?
And let me just touch on one thing. Both these guys feel that they can make the move to 130, but Figueroa has made complaints about he's probably ready to move to 130 because of weight issues, just like he had at 122. So don't think that can't play a factor in this fight. Like I said, it's a lot of deja vu moments in this fight. And I can see it happening again where Fulton wins against Figueroa. It's crazy. The F's are throwing me off, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, man, I like it, man. I think it's going to be an interesting fight, man. I think it could even potentially compete with David Benavidez and David Morrell. I think people may be sleeping on this fight, but I think this fight right here could become very, very competitive. without a doubt, man. So looking forward to see what looking forward to see what Brandon Figueroa is going to do in this fight. And definitely, I'm looking to see what Stephen Fulton and I'm interested in seeing the relationship between Bozy Ennis and Stephen Fulton develop. I want to see what's been happening in that training camp. I want to see if that new combination is a good combination for Stephen Fulton. We're questioning how good it is with Bozy and Andy Cruz. And obviously people are questioning what Boots has been able to do, but I think Boots is able to actually carry out the Bozy and his game plan that actually works for him. You know what I'm saying? But I question these smaller guys, these guys who it's just hard to see these smaller guys get punched on that way. We've seen Andy Cruz get buckled and hurt, and we've seen Stephen Fulton, get set out in his pockets and in that fight get hurt multiple times against Carlos Castro. I'm interested in seeing the adjustments. Let's see if Bozy Ennis was able to take anything away from that last fight, make certain adjustments, train Stephen Fulton to be the best version of himself, not recreate him into something that he wasn't, in the beginning. Let's see if Bozy's able to show that.
100%.
Let's move on to the other fight on the card. We've got Isaac Cruz back on the road to redemption. Isaac Cruz coming off of, I'm not going to say humiliating. Let's not say it was a humiliating experience with Ryo. I'm trying to be nice, damn it.
That fight was down, bro. He was.
I'm trying
I don't even want to say the word because that's a big no Diddy moment, but this man was dominated in that fight. Pause.
Yeah, he looked like he was out of his league. It looked like when it came to boxing, when somebody was actually bringing boxing to this dude and brought that pedigree to the table, it looks like he was a fish out of water, didn't know really what to do with it, was busy chasing, running after Ryo Venezuela, not cutting the ring off, not doing a good job of dealing with Ryo was dishing out there. Shocked the world to see Ryo Venezuela box that way, but the actual the actual end result was that, Isaac Cruz just looked like he was outclassed in multiple ways, to a point where he's not even rematching Ryo Venezuela. And there was a rematch clause in there that was getting respected by Ryo. We all expected to see this fight with Ryo Venezuela. He walked away from the opportunity, probably didn't like the way that felt. Now you kind of see where Isaac Cruz's mind was at when he said he didn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson, right? When he said he didn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson, you kind of get it now when you watch that Ryo Venezuela fight. But look, he did a great thing last year. Coming off of that great victory against Rolly Romero. And who else did he fight? Was it Rolly Romero? Was that the only fight he fought last year?
Rolly
and Ryo. That was it. Was that the fight? That was the fight he fought on the Sebastian Pandora.
I thought he had 3 fights, didn't he?
Let me pull him up right quick.
Hold on. Let me see. He fought. I thought he fought at 140 and no, he had 2. Did he fight in January though? On the last card? No, that was December, the last card.
Isaac Cruz, let's see what he did last year.
I think he fought in December. I think it was close to January.
No, okay. It was Rolly and Jose Valenzuela.
Only 2 fights.
But it was interesting though, because before that he fought against Giovanni Cabrera, and Giovanni Cabrera was able to expose a lot on Isaac Cruz. He was kind of one who opened up the door on, hold on, this guy doesn't deal well with the boxers, right? Even Tank Davis, when he fought him, had to resort to his boxing because he ended up fighting with one hand, being that he hurt one of his hands, and he was able to beat Isaac Pitbull Cruz very handedly, but with one hand. When he went in there with Giovanni Cabrera, once again, got kind of exposed a little bit, but was able to come out on the other side of that with a victory. Went in the ring with a Rolando Romero, who just served himself on a silver platter, but had a great year in 2024 because he built a whole lot of attention around him, a whole lot of energy around him. Mexico jumped up and was like, we got one. I think his followers went up to like 1 million followers inside of like 24 hours that night, right? He went from like 50 to 100,000 followers to like 1 million followers inside, like before the sun came up the next morning after that fight, right? Built a huge fan base. Everybody wanted to see him fight. Ended up being one of, people might say, part of a fight that stole the show on Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov card.
On a Riyadh card.
Right, respectfully, of course, right? But him and Jose Valenzuela, Ryo was able to steal the show, but it wasn't for the right reasons for Isaac. Wasn't for the right reason, as we just said earlier, kind of embarrassed himself a lot in this fight. But going into this fight that he's getting ready to do right now, this a road to redemption, right? And I said road to redemption because he can still salvage his career if he's able to get the right kind of victory over this fighter right here in Angel Fierro. What do we know about Angel Fierro?
Nothing. but he damn sure he put a shirt on. Jesus Christ. Sorry.
Too much nipples. Pause. Listen, this guy's sitting at 23 wins. He's got 2 losses. He's never been knocked out. 18 knockouts, right? It's like an 80% knockout ratio. Listen, man, this guy is not coming to come to be a stepping stone for Isak, but he is a Mexican fighter. He's going to be coming forward. He's going to be trying to get his own knockouts and apply pressure. It's kind of stylistically the kind of fight that Isak Cruz likes. So whoever's managing Isak Cruz, whoever's getting his career together, is thinking about his star power. They're thinking about bringing him back to the forefront. This fighter, stylistically, you would think would give him that opportunity. But after this fight, if he's not able to do what he needs to do at the end of this fight, it's probably going to be curtains for him. Not to say in the worst way, like he's going to retire, but, he's going to turn out to be a hype job, right or wrong. What do you think?
I totally agree. And let me tell you something, Clay. You're going to laugh at what I'm about to say. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But we need to get these fighters, when they come back on these bounce back fights, either take a super easy fight or fight somebody that you just lost to or somebody that gave you trouble. That it comes into question. Similar style on that. Stop fighting these guys that are tailor-made for you, and they come out and they look terrible against these people. There's a lot of fighters that just went through this, right? So I'm laughing because it brought remnants of Teofimo Lopez, right? When he fought, he went and got a fighter that was tailor-made for him after he literally lost to Jermaine Taylor and was awarded the victory. And this looked terrible. So the same thing with Pitbull here. This guy set up for him to knock out, set up for him.
Right.
And he better not go in there and disappoint, get knocked out, get dropped, look bad, none of that. Because this guy set up for you to put on your roller skates and just do what Bugs Bunny did when he spun around in the middle of the ring, smacking dude with a whole bunch of fists spinning in a circle. That's what I'm saying. That's all we want to see. And if you can't do it, bro, get back on your bicycle and run home or ride away. Just go into the sunset.
But after this, if he's not able to do that in this fight,
right?
I mean, is it because he's at 140? Because this fight is happening at 140, right? Right. I mean, is it time for him to go back to 135, 130, like go down there?
Heavy. He's too big for 135. He's a short fighter. He's a big compact. He's like a bowling ball, bro. Remember the running back Maurice Jones-Drew for Jacksonville? Guy was like the same size, running over linebackers your size, bro. Like,
right.
No joke, right? And it's crazy because he can't make the weight at 140, so he'll have to do everything in catch weight. He'll never be a champion again. He'll never be, you know what I mean? He'll never be, unless they.
You don't think he can successfully go back down to 135,
dude? No, I think his frame, his muscle mass, and his bone structure is just too much compact for him to put on lose that weight anymore. That's why he moved up. He moved up because he couldn't do it no more.
No, I don't think so. I think he moved up because he's just chasing opportunity. He was just chasing opportunity. Okay. He saw Rolly. Dude's like 5 foot. Yeah, like Secret Dan said, he's 5'3", and I think they're lying on this boxer thing. He's 5'4". He's a little guy, man. I don't know if he's not able to be successful against this gentleman Angel Fierro, who's coming in at 5'7". He's got a 70-inch arm reach. This guy can establish and use that distance. He can walk. This is also stylistically a good fight for Angel Fierro as well, man. This works out for him as well. He can also make Isak Cruz pay. Dare I say, knock him out? I'm not going to say that because he has that big fire hydrant head. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he got a big old head. Like that boy got a big head. Even in this picture right here, it looks like, you know what I mean? His head is big, man. So that being said, you know what I mean? Pause for anybody who needs to pause. But he got he got a big head. And at the end of the day, Fierro's going to be sitting there, setting him up with shots, looking to knock him out just as well. He's got an 80% knockout ratio. He's going to be looking to do the same exact thing. He's a young guy, 26 years old. This is not, Yorkis Gamboa or, you know what I'm saying? This isn't somebody who's out of their prime that you're going to take advantage of. This guy is also looking to make a name for himself. He's got all the physical attributes. He's got the power in his hands. This is a dangerous fight equally for Isak Pitbull Cruz, but it seems like this is a fight where he shines the best at is in these kind of fights. If he doesn't find success in this fight, I think it's a reasonable argument to say that he's not going to find success at 140. It's just too many killers in that division. If he can't do it against this guy, Ryo was able to run circles around you. then you might as well take it back down to 135 and do something. Dare I say, even try to go down to 130, man. I don't know.
If we talk about his height and the framework of Pitbull Cruz, he needs to be at 122, 126. Let's be honest, right? Then that means his stature is too small for even those divisions. But he successfully was able to put his career through the works. And like I think it was Rosclott. Rosclott said, he was forced up there. So if he was forced up there, sometimes your body grows. It's been a year he's been up there. Your body acclimates. You start putting on weight after the weight cuts of fighting at 135. Now you're at 140. But now your body's into a whole different transmission of weight gain. So that whole thing changes too. Is he the animal that we know him to be to get back down to 135? Absolutely. Of course he can. But at what cost? That is the question. That's all I really salute. Swift
718. Salute, right, man.
Right.
Sugar Ray and Cassius Clay. Salute, my brothers. Yo, I don't know. We gotta talk about that later, man. That's kind of catchy right there. That's kind of different right there.
I'm definitely about to dab that into my my arsenal. Don't get it wrong.
No doubt. Roscott said,
yeah, man. I mean, his attributes put him at 130, 135 as far as his reach, like his ceiling.
Right.
But he won. The thing is, people were missing the point that he won. It doesn't matter if it's Rolly. We were talking about somebody put in the chat that Rolly Ryo came in 20 pounds over. Guess what? Rolly probably came in about 35 pounds over. Rolly's a big 140 pounder where he's definitely moving to 147. He can't make 135. He couldn't make 140. He was coming down massive amounts of weight to fight in these fights. So hey, if he beat a guy that big, that muscular, because Rolly's not like a round guy. He's just a muscular guy. So if you beat somebody like that, and hey, man, same thing. He can do the same thing up there. He can stay at 140. I just think it's just a matter of him adjusting. That's it. Ain't nobody hurt him. He never got hurt at the division. So we can't say it's the power that he's fighting against, right?
Right.
All right.
No, man.
People slow down as they move up in weight. The speed don't get faster.
You're right. No, you're 100% right, man. You're 100% right. It's going to be interesting for Isaac Cruz, a significant fight for him. Let's see what he's able to come out with. This fight is about as good as it gets for him at 140 pounds. If he's not able to manifest something great out of this fight, I'm going to throw a little shade on his 140-pound career and say this might not be the division for you. You've got some decisions to make. And catchweight fights is adorable, but I don't think you're big enough a star that catchweight fights holds the weight that, like 2 Cent said here, moving him accordingly is putting him in a position to become a champion. A champion is what puts him in the conversation, because outside of that, let's be honest, Isaac Pitbull Cruz is high risk, low reward. You know what I mean? He's if he doesn't have belts, he's somebody who can beat you. He's somebody who can punch. He's short. It's awkward to fight against him. If you're over 5'5", 5'6", it becomes awkward to fight somebody like this who's as dangerous as he is with his power. It's going to be hard for him to find the big fights. The people around him, his handlers, have to be concerned about that and have to be looking to build him back up the right way. This fight against Angel Fierro is going to be his last show out, man, to his last opportunity to do something positive, to get himself back in the conversation of where he probably needs to be, which is getting a rematch with Ryo, hoping that everything goes well against Ryo and with him and Gary Antoine Russell. Even though I'm rooting for Gary Antoine Russell in this fight, but at the end of the day, if everything works out for him, hopefully put himself in a position where he gets a rematch with Ryo, gets a big fight. It'll be a sequel to one of the bigger fights that happened last year for the PBC and for the Mexican community, and see them get a big payday and see if Isaac can get back into being a champion. What do you say? What do you say, Ray?
I mean, anything's possible. It doesn't have to be Ryo. Teal's about to move up. That belt's about to become vacant. If he or those belts, depending if he wins or loses, right? Same thing with Hitchens. I'm pretty sure if Hitchens, he's about made it with 142, so he's on the brink of moving up. So even if that fight, they said it's done, signed deal. Those guys are going to probably drop the belt to move up. Hitchens will probably stay around a little longer because he now play around with his weights and stuff like that. But as far as Tio, his opportunity there is to move up. So it happens, man. You know what I mean? We'll see. It's opportunities there for all of them. And God forbid, I think this guy Puello may be the best fight for Pitbull Cruz.
Alberto Puello? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Big boxer, man.
I know.
He's tall, long arms.
But,
he moves around pretty well.
Backwards. He moves straight back.
That's what he did against Gary. I'll say that. But let's see what he does against Brando Martin.
So that's definitely a fight Pitbull would like. Somebody that's just moving right, just like Rolly did, straight back. There's no movement.
All right. Let's check it out. So we also got another big fight up there at 154. We got Jesus Ramos making his return. Got a little bit of chip on his shoulder, right? Last fight he had against Erickson Lubinson. Came up short in that fight. The judges didn't see his way, but it was controversial, Ray. They say that they thought that, a lot of people thought Jesus Ramos won the fight, right? But he did what Oscar De La Hoya did against Tito Trinidad, right? He won the first half of the fight and took his foot off the gas for the complete second half of the fight and just assumed that he had 7 rounds, that he had 7 rounds in the bag. But, it turns out Erickson Lubinson won the whole second half of the fight, and the judges saw around somewhere inside those first couple of rounds to give to Erickson Lubinson. He ended up walking away with I believe a close, was it a unanimous decision?
Yeah, I think it was a split. Let me see.
I think it might have been. Hold on, let me see here. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see.
Unanimous.
It was a unanimous decision, right?
Yeah. 117, 116, 115. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So end up losing that fight. A lot of people were upset, thought it was a robbery. I don't think it was a robbery. I do think either one of them could have won, though. If they would have given it to Jesus Ramos, I wouldn't have been upset about it. But look, at the end of the day, coming off of his first loss, getting an opportunity, this kid has been somebody who they put a lot on at a 154. They thought he was going to be one of those guys at 154. This is a big fight for him. And of course, you got Jason Rosario also, who's getting an opportunity back again. You know what I mean? He was a champion at one point. Who did he beat again? Was it that he beat for that title? I remember he was crying and everything, man. It was a crazy fight for him.
He beat
Julian Williams. It was Julian Williams.
Right.
And then he went and fought Jamel Charlo, and Jamel Charlo took those titles off of him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Not to mention like the draw that he had with Jarrett Hurd, which I think he dominated that fight with Jarrett Hurd. Like I think Jarrett Hurd came out at the beginning, he was pretty like solid, right?
Right.
And then the rest of that fight was all him. It was the whole fight. And by the way, that fight was on Pro Box. If you guys didn't catch it, you probably can watch it on YouTube. If you guys want to see it. But I think Jarrett Hurd just looked so bad, bro. It was bro. There's no reason why that fight should have even been close. A draw. Right. No reason why.
Yeah, it was a split draw, actually. They found it. One judge found a 95-95, another one 94-96, and another one 96-94. You know what I mean? So one judge found a win it for Jared, another one for Rosario, and the other one called it a draw. So he gets an opportunity. He gets in the ring with the Jesus Ramos Jr., who's got a chip on his shoulder. I think most people will probably be leaning towards Jesus Ramos to walk away with this victory. What is on the back end of this for these guys? Well, whoever wins this fight, there's talks of Jamel Charlo coming back into the 154-pound weight class division. Obviously, you got a lot. We know 154 is the hornet's nest. It's you can't throw a rock without hitting a threat. You know what I'm saying? You can't throw a rock away from your front door without hitting somebody who can turn around and beat the brakes off of you. Any thoughts on this fight right here and what it could be like? What you're expecting?
Could be boring. And I mean that respectfully. Yeah. I definitely think Jesus is going to win this fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to earn his respect in this fight. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, but he has a dog in front of him. You know what I mean? Jason's not an easy person to beat. He showed great character. Yes, he got a few losses, but he showed some great character. He showed some great poise in that fight against Jarrett Hurd. Jarrett Hurd came in, and like I said, pretty sharp on in that fight in the beginning, and that's the last fight I remember. So I'm actually using that as a reference point. Right. But at the end of the day, Jesus Ramos he's a dog, bro. He seems like the stronger fighter. He's the more seasoned fighter. He has a better pedigree. He's been in there with top dogs, and I think he's going to put the school lesson on young Jason in the ring here and send him back into the DR.
Interesting. I agree. I think Jesus Ramos is the one I'm leaning towards on winning this fight. He's been on his little break. He came off. He has a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. I think he does it. I think Jason Rosario just passed his time, man. I think it's just he's 29, but he's an old 29. You know what I mean? In my opinion, he gets involved in a lot of dog fights. He gets punched on a lot. He punches on people a lot. I just think he's just not the same Jason Rosario, years ago, who beat Julian Williams. And I think Jesus Ramos is just young and ready to go. This is his time. He wants to get in those conversations. He wants to fight Jamel Charlo. He wants to fight Xander. He wants to fight Sebastian. He wants to fight everybody who's in the division. He's part of that conversation of the top echelon of 154. Him and Charles Conwell will be a great fight as well down the line. Real great fight, right? So Jason Rosario, in my opinion, much love to you, brother, but I think you're just in the way at 154 at this point, and Jesus Ramos is going to get you out the way and get 154 moving forward. I think we're looking at the future 154 and the past, which is Jason Rosario. But at the same time, on the other side of it, if Jason Rosario is able to go ahead and pull off a victory here, upset the world, there's money to be made, I'm sure, if you're gambling on this fight. If you're going to bet on the upset, I'm sure the odds are going to make you, well over 100% on whatever you put on a Jason Rosario. But if he was to win this fight, look, it puts him in the conversation. Him, Charles Conwell, him, all these fighters that I mentioned fighting Jesus Ramos, he's there for them to fight. Shoot, man, I could say that if Jesus Ramos loses his fight and Jason Rosario wins this fight, maybe even like a Errol Spence at some point making his debut at 154 against a Jason Rosario is a good fight for him. They're probably going to be the weakest link in the division, the easiest tune-up, the only version of a tune-up the division has to offer is probably one of these guys right here. And I don't think Jesus Ramos is nobody's tune-up. So it is what it is. Let's see here. I'm going to get into this next topic. This is going to be the fun topic, but I thought it was interesting. Let me see here. Let's look into the chat here and see what I've been missing here. A lot of stuff going on in here. I wonder if they're talking to us or each other.
No, about the stuff we on topic with.
Let's see. Pitbull had a fan base and they'll come and move forward, but what if Pitbull knocks him out? Do you think he should still continue at that weight? Thomas, yeah, right? Yeah, if he knocks him out, I don't know if he should, but he will. I don't see no reason for him not to move forward and jump into the next opportunity at 140. What is he going to take a victory and be like, this weight's not for me? It'd be the mature thing to do, but is that going to really get his pockets where he needs it to be? 135 is pretty much everybody's accounted for. Everybody's doing something important. Keyshawn's getting a title. Shakur is fighting Floyd Schofield, but after this fight, he's going straight into the direction of William Zepeda, Tank Davis. These are the fights he wants to put together. Vasily Lomachenko, he's looking to put the biggest fights together. Most of these fighters at 135 are probably all inside of that Turki Al-Sheikh conversation. Pitbull probably has no place at 135 to do nothing spectacular and make no real noise. Who's he going to fight? Who's going to take that chance to fight somebody without a title who can knock you out like Pitbull Cruz at 135? You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of anybody who I'd put him in the ring with. So definitely, if he comes off of a knockout, I expect him to continue at 140. But I'm be real with you, I don't think he's going to be that successful in that division. I just think he's too small for 140. That's where I'm at with it.
It's like this ball being too small for 122, 126 rather.
Yeah, I mean 130 maybe. Maybe he can go do something over there. Go get a fight with Emmanuel Navarrete. That'd be crazy. Or even O'Shaquie Foster.
That'd be a good catchweight fight. Both of them. Yeah.
Or even Raymond Ford too. Rios fought smart and was easy to read Pitt when he realized he was throwing the same punch over and over. Yep, 100% Roscott, 100%. Let me see. Ramos primed to go back on the road. He was previously traveling. Okay. All right. So going into the next topic, man, the sensitive one, man. Did you get a chance to see that interview with Paulie Malinaggi?
Nope.
You didn't see it?
No.
Oh,
wow. I don't follow Paulie too much. I don't follow Paulie too. I do listen to him, but sporadic.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, man, he was just commenting on Tank Davis and his resume and just kind of like,
Are you talking about the old interview?
No, the one he just had. I will pull it back up right now.
I think the old one, he had some comments about that.
He talked about a little bit on that one.
He was talking about legacy before, right? He wasn't really talking about his pedigree. He was talking about his legacy.
Yeah, I don't think he was talking directly about Tank before as much as he is now in this one. Basically saying criticizes a manufactured resume. He's basically talking about Tank Davis. This is Fight Hype. They're sensitive with their stuff, man. They don't like nobody playing their stuff. But this is about a 17-minute rant that Paulie Malinaggi goes on. and speaking on everything, just about the industry in general, but focus a lot on Tank as far as him not reaching his potential, him being overpaid, him not being asked to fight the best, and him even threatening or giving the idea that he's going to retire is almost like a spit in boxing's face, right? Like, how well does this do for boxing for somebody who's able to come into boxing, become super wealthy, never fight the big fights, you know what I'm saying, and then leave the sport and retire and run away with all that money. I thought it was interesting, you know what I mean? Let's see. Roscoe said, I agree with a lot of what Paulie says. Yeah, man, it was interesting. Let's see here. Stick Talk Richie said, Paulie hated, he needs to get back with AB, not his girl. Not his girl, the fight.
Yeah, I know
I know he's talking about too. I know he's talking about. Yesterday we ended the show kind of talking about Tank Davis and where he probably should be, and talking about him even fighting at 135. Why even bother? Why doesn't he just cut the weight, fight at 130, fight the champions down there, unify, make those fights happen? He could, Monster Inoue can come to 130. They can fight there. He can fight Raymond Ford. He can fight Oshaki Foster. He can fight Emmanuel Navarrete. He can fight a lot of those guys at 130. And if he's cutting the weight to be in that division, then what's the big deal? What's not to say what's the big deal, but at the end of the day, at least it won't be no shade on the fight. He's cutting the weight. He's in the division. He's not making anybody do rehydration clauses. He's not pulling anybody up from smaller weights. No more ridicule of what he's doing. He's able to, be successful down there. Why wouldn't he do it? Where you at with it? What do you think, Ray?
Oh, I was like, waiting for you to keep. I thought you was keep going. I thought that was a generic question. I mean, why wouldn't he do it? That makes all the sense in the world. It's not to move him out the way. For a lot of people speculating that we may be trying to just move Tank out the way and be like, hey, let the division clear itself up. No, Tank has enough power to stop a lot of middleweights, bro. It's not like I'm going to discredit what he has in ability to box and what he can throw in his right or left hand. That's definitely abilities that he has. But the point is not the ability. It's the point that what you're saying, Clay, like you already done a lot in your career. It's all been based off of one thing that everybody sees, and you admit to it yourself. The bag. I ain't worried about this guy. The bag, right? So if he's always chasing the bag, and the bag is your situation, then go get those belts now. Let's solidify something. You had problems. You lost the belt on the scales multiple times at 130. Let's not forget. You know what I mean? So does it make sense for him to go there? Yes. Do I think he goes there? No, because I think he's at a point where and I feel comfortable with him staying at 135 because I think there's opportunities there, and these are the questions that people have had for a long time. Hey, get in the ring with this guy, get in the ring with that guy, regardless of his reactions or whatever. You know what I mean? Clay has multiple. I'm sorry, Clay. Your Tank's twin. My bad. Tank has multiple reactions to these situations. You know what I mean? Rather he wants to fight everybody, he has a list. Rather he's not on a list. Rather he, you know what I mean? Rather he wants to fight this guy. Who's this guy? What has he done? Why do they need the bag? Such as what Bub was saying right yesterday. Oh, they need to have big fights before I fight them. Why? These are only lame excuses. Like I said, we can throw this stuff out there all you want. None of the guys he fought ever did anything to put our mindset at ease to say, yo, they deserve a fight with Tank Davis because they earned it. They got the bag. No, they were just partnered up with the company. These were the guys that they felt that they made mistakes with the other two fighters that they had that they were pushing so hard as their top fighters, which was Adrian Broner, what we just we're talking about, and Deontay Wilder. Both of them failed to capture the crown, and they put a lot of money in their backs. They let them run around, their knockout power, their ability to box and be speed and be these next generation talents, and they put money invested into these guys, and they turn around and let them down. Let's not act like PBC is not smart, and they're not carrying this wave like they should. They're surfing the wave with Tank Davis. Tank don't like it. I can see it in his frustration and how he acts, that they're putting him on these little diet plans of fights. You know what I mean? I think Tank does want the big fights. I just think the PBC wants to protect themselves from this, because the last time they gave somebody a big fight was Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford. It didn't turn out well. The time before that, they gave Adrian Peterson Madonna. It didn't turn out well. And right before that, we're talking about Deontay Wilder and Fury. Didn't turn out well. So all these fights that they had, where they had these guys that they invested a lot of money into, it turned out not to be great. So that's why I think their protection plan is there for Tank Davis, and I think that's why you're never going to see him get a big fight, even at 130.
Yeah. I think that at the end of the day,
I'm not tapping, bro. All facts.
I think what Paulie was saying was right on the nail, man. I think everything he said was fair. I think he was criticizing a boxing career, not a boxer necessarily, as far as, you know, direct shots at Tank Davis' personal life. But he was just speaking on the resume and just saying that, you know, the matchmaking is there, the manufacturing is there, creating the fighter is one thing, right? Every good manager, every good promoter participates in this. This is their job, really, to help, you know, make the right fight stylistically, build the fighter up to a certain point. But it does get to a certain point where the legacy is going to be, I think what Paulie was expressing is just as somebody who boxed before, somebody who's a fan of boxing, down to the root and foundation of everything, that you want to see the boxer tested. You want to see the boxer show you, as a boxing fan, you want to see him show you how he does against this quote unquote best fighters in the game. And it just seems like Tank may be getting away from that, right? That he's made all the money not doing it. And now, you know, when it's time for him to do it, where people feel like he has the power to do it, he's separated from Floyd Mayweather. He's become his own representation in GTD Promotions and more of what people are going to call a boss and a face of boxing. It seems that he's not using his power now to go ahead and push these fights forward. Right? He's not pushing these fights forward and making them happen. So, you know, and him talking about retiring before making these fights happens, it is going to leave a foul taste in a lot of boxing fans' mouth. Obviously, Paulie seems to be one of those people who's just like, listen, I'm going to respect Tank for what he wants to do. If that's what he wants to do, he's going to do it. I can't do nothing about it. I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. But if you want me to speak truth to power, I'm going to speak the truth, that he hasn't done the things that we feel as boxing fans he should be doing. I see Bub Boxing going ham.
That's what I'm listening.
I haven't read it yet. I'm going to get to you, Bub, see what you put there, but I don't want to get distracted. So I'm just looking into the camera. I'm not talking to you right now. Well, I see you in my peripheral, though. I see a whole lot of Bub Boxing. I see on the sideline next to that blue wrench, Bub Boxing. But yeah, man, look, man, I think everything, I heard the interview and I was like, my eyes were popping out my head. I'm like, damn, Paulie, you kind of going in. But listen, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Laurent says we're gonna miss Dude when he's gone. Maybe, I don't know. Will we? I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know. Tank. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we would. Listen, can I cut you off real quick? Right,
no, don't cut me off. Let me just finish
go ahead.
Quick.
Finish your thought, because I love that quote. I love what he said. I like what he said.
Am I going to miss him? I mean, look, man, he's a great fighter. You know what I mean? A whole lot of talent there, man. Damn it, man. I can't give that man his praises enough. But look, am I going to miss not seeing him fight the people that I want to see him fight? No, I'm not going to miss that. I'm not going to miss the frustration. I'm not going to miss the stubbornness. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to miss the lack of the lack of wanting to give me, the fan, anything that I ask for, right? The care, the lack of caring that he has, just the lack of empathy he has for a boxing fan who wants to see him make these fights, how much he just shows blatantly, like, I don't care what you want. I'm not going to give it to you. Am I going to miss that? Nah, I'm probably not going to miss that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to think about the fights I didn't have, right? That I didn't get. That's what I'm going to think about. I'm like, damn, man, it would have been great to see if damn, Tank never fought. That's what I'm going to be thinking about. I'm going to be thinking about what I didn't get. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But look, trust me when I tell you guys, he's, as a man, I don't know that guy. I'm not going to turn this into a bash Tank situation, but I do think that it's only fair to have a certain amount of like real unbiased scrutiny of any boxer's career. And when you're talking about a boxer being at the end of his career, retiring, stopping to fight, then it takes away the hope, right? It takes away the hope that I always had for Tank, to say that no matter what he did, he was building his career, making his biggest paydays, that I was going to be okay with that, knowing in my heart that down the line, eventually these fights were going to happen. I can remember Calvin Ford saying, be patient. These fights are going to happen. I think you guys are just being impatient. You're not giving him time. He's going to make these fights happen. But when he's talking about retiring, you start to get to past the silliness of it all and start realizing that this career is going to come to an end and you're not going to see these fights. Yeah, it does start to put a little bit of a foul taste in your mouth, and you can't help but hold him accountable for that. Go ahead, Ray. I know you're dying.
No, it's cool. I already forgot what we talked about. So just to answer a few questions here, and not questions, but just to push back a little bit. One, I'm not capping. All right, all these things are true, right? I'm not lying about what happened with the PBC, the other fighters, and I'm not telling you that Tank's not their current star. All their stars have failed. They all lost money in their fighters. Point blank, Da, 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 da. And all y'all want to do is talk money with Tank. Y'all never want to talk about legacy because Tank don't care about legacy. But did he not get interviewed by Champ Side? Shout out to Champ Side. Salute to my brother. Did he not ask him, are you looking to go undisputed once Devin left the division? And what did he say? Yeah, that's something I want to do. That was out of Tank's mouth, not Champ Side's mouth. Tank said that he was coming in there to clean out the division and he was going to be undisputed. All right? Not me. I ain't making it up. But then again, like Nine Fingers said, that, you know what I mean, that I'm crazy. What has he done for the, you know what I mean? Like, what has he done, Clay? Like, it was a question to you. Let me read it for you because I want to answer that question too. Generally saying, why should we care about what the fans think? Come on, Clay. You know why we should care about what the fans think? That's all that protects Tank is the fans. Clay's been saying it for a long time. He don't care about y'all. He said it multiple times, so I'm in agreement with that. We don't care. He don't care. So why should y'all defend him so much? You know why? Because y'all just think he's the best thing since sliced bread. Y'all think he's the best thing since shoelaces were able to tie your shoes and keep them on your feet from sliding off when you're running. It is what it is, bro. Y'all think he's the best thing since straws were made so y'all can drink out of cups with a damn whatever it is. I don't even care. At the end of the day, Tank is who he is, all right? I don't discredit Tank for anything he did. Matter of fact, I didn't discredit Tank when I talked about him before. Y'all just don't like the fact that Tank doesn't need to fight anybody, in your opinion, right? But yet, at the same time, y'all want people to make this crazy leap and bounds to get pay-per-view numbers, to do this, to do that. But y'all want him to fight these people. Y'all called out Shakur. Y'all been calling out for Shakur for a long time. Y'all called out Devin. Y'all were calling out Devin for a long time. But yet, he never made those fights, right? Oh, but y'all want to kick those guys' backs in and say they don't want to fight. Tank's the A side. He makes the fights. He sends the contracts. That's what y'all said. That's what Leonard Ellaby said. I don't want to hear no more, bro. All y'all talking is nonsense. So at the end of the day, you want Chi and Shakur to fight? Why do they need to fight? Why? Why do you need them to fight? What does that got to do with Tank Davis fighting anybody at the status of a champion? What? When has he beat a champion or defended his title against another champion? Tell me. Never. Okay. Let me rest my case. Where's my gauntlet? Case closed, bro. I'm done.
Yeah. Listen, man. When a fighter's career is when a fighter's career is coming to the end and it's about to be said and done, you start to look back at everything they do in their career and you're going to judge accordingly. As fans of boxing, we're going to do it. There's no avoiding it. Me personally, I'll never disregard Tank's humble beginnings. I know he comes from a hard life. I know where he comes from. I know the hardships that he's had, the foster homes he's been in, the problems he's had with his mother. I understand the father figure. I understand the father figure that Calvin Ford has played in Tank's life and needing that father figure, being that, he didn't have a father who was active in his life that way. He had a hard life, man. So Tank in his own right can celebrate his own victories that he's had, his ability to take care of his family and to get the financial freedom that he's earned, by the way. You know what I mean? He's earned every dollar that he's gotten, you know what I mean? But if we're going to take the money off the table, stop talking about, how rich he is and stop talking about all the great victories he's had personally. He can be celebrated for that at a separate time. I'm very happy for Tank Davis that he's not living in the slums of Baltimore and in the cities that was consuming all of his friends and all the people around him, that he was able to escape that, go somewhere greater, living somewhere gated, living in a home, multiple thousand square footage of freedom that he lives inside of, and the ability to go ahead and stay out of trouble. And he doesn't end up like other people around him ended up. Man, that's a victory story within itself, maybe even movie worthy, right? But at the same time, if we're going to talk specifically about this man's boxing career, and we're going to keep it directly focused on his boxing, his accomplishments, his accolades, he put those things to the backside because those things weren't important to him, right? And I understand that he doesn't have to do anything to please us, but at the same exact time, fans of boxing are going to be free and should always be free to hold them accountable for that and be able to say, that is a reason why I don't celebrate him the way you guys may celebrate him because when it comes to boxing, he didn't take my thoughts into consideration. He didn't take my money that I was spending into consideration. He didn't try to make any of the fights that we wanted to see him be in. Therefore, we're not going to put him in the same conversation of, let's say, David Benavidez, who says, I'm going to fight David Morrell because the fans think that David Morrell can beat me, because you guys think that this guy's ready, even though he's 11 fights into his career, 12 fights into his career, whatever his record is. And most people are saying that this is too early for him because you guys seem to think that this guy poses some sort of threat. I'm not going to take the manufactured, strategically planned Jesse Hart that was in front of me to fight so I can go ahead and take advantage of becoming an undisputed champion. I'm going to go back against the system. I'm going to speak truth to power, and I'm going to say, let's rearrange that. Let's move that around. I want to fight David Morrell right now because of what these fans are saying. There's some fighters out there who are operating that way, who want to beat the best out there to prove that they're the best. And then you have other fighters who don't have to prove anything to anyone. They're in it for themselves. They're in it for their paychecks. That's fair. That's their right to do it. But it's also the right of any boxing fan to share any type of contention they have with that thought process. So for Paulie Malinaggi to speak from that perspective is well within his right. And he hit a lot of things on the nail when he's talking about, and he's representing a lot of thought and process of a lot of boxing fans in the space. It is what it is. Right? So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for Tank Davis to not care, move the way he wants to, and do what's going to be best for him. I think boxing fans have the same exact right to do the same exact thing, man. It is what it is, man. Let me shout out. We had a big super chat in the building. Shout out to Swift 718 showing love. What is there to miss about Tank? Frustration, knowing you won't get what you want to pay for, fighting under and overweight guys in fights that we didn't ask for. Calvin said be patient, but Tank's 30 now, and the money fights have left the division. It's Swift.
100%.
It's exactly where I'm coming from, man. It's exactly where I'm coming from. A member for 2 months. Shout out to Swift 718. Appreciate the support to the channel. Says, plus the bag really comes with the biggest matchups. Look at his business with Ryan. His strategy is just chasing quarters to pay his opponents pennies. 100%, man. It's the truth.
Can I get some horns for that?
It's just the truth, guys. You know what I mean? And it's fair.
Hard pill to swallow for y'all. Pause.
It's fair is what I want you guys to understand, right? If anything, it's fair. What do you expect boxing fans to do? It's only fair that they hold this man accountable, man. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm sure Tank understands this comes with the job, right? It comes with it. If you're going to go in and say, if you're going to come in and say, I'm going to do what I want to do, I don't care about none of the things you care about, then on the back end of that, you expect pushback. You expect, you know what I'm saying, some pushback. You expect some scrutiny. You expect some disappointment, right? You expect some contention with your perspective that involves me not getting what I want. Why in the world would I be happy with that? What is there to miss in that, in all reality? There's not a lot to miss. You know what I'm saying? There's a little bit to miss because you're going to always acknowledge that he was an entertaining fighter to watch, that he did great things in the ring with whoever he got in the ring with, but you'll always have in the back of your mind, this guy didn't give a damn about what I wanted as a boxing fan. It is what it is.
And I just want to say, look, you right, bub, and I ain't ignore you. Next time, put in the super chat, though. I'm ignoring you now, right? This is the last one. The best should fight the best. That's the point of boxing. That's what we want to see. Just like you want to see it, it's must watch. So we're not getting Shakur and Tank, and we're not getting Kishore and Tank if he becomes champion. And matter of fact, wasn't Denise available to fight Tank for unification? So that would have been the best fighting the best. When did that happen? No, he want to go down to 130 and pull up Lamont Roach because, oh, he's local. He's going to bail us up. Come on, bro. That's all we hear about. If it's a money fight, okay, cool. Let it move the way it's moving. I'm good with that. And Tank has admitted that. And I accept him for that. I'm not mad at Tank for saying
what do you want me to say? He hasn't given. He said, stop talking about what Tank not giving you something. What am I? Am I going? Do you want me to talk about what he's giving me? Or how about this? I'll stop saying that he's not giving me anything, right? And I'll say he's giving me nothing. How about that? Is that a better way to say it? Now I'm talking about what he's giving me. You feel me? He's giving me nothing. I'm not going to talk about what he's not. I'm not going to talk about what he's not giving me. We do that a lot, right? Let me talk about what he's giving me. Nothing. It is. It is what it is, man.
And the energy is not emotional. Oh, go ahead. Do the super chat.
Yeah. Salute to Swift 8. To the channel again. As paying consumers, we reserve the right to critique the product being brought to the marketplace for our consumption. Swift, you couldn't have said it any better.
100%, and
that's in the fine print. That's in the fine print of the agreement between a fan and a boxer, right? Or between a fan and an athlete. The fine print that a lot of fans don't look at, you know what I mean? And sometimes the fighters don't look at is that there's a fine print there, and the fine print, it says exactly what Swift just said right here. In that fine print, if you look real close, I know there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there, but if you put your magnifying glass to it and you read that fine print, what it's going to say is, as paying consumers, we reserve the right to critique the product being brought to the marketplace for our consumption. This is the reality of the world we live in, guys. You're out here making a whole lot of money. You're out here needing my money in order for the event to make sense. You celebrate the fact that you put the most asses in seats, that you have the most pay-per-view buys, all built off of fans like myself. But yet and still, if I say something to push back at something that you're doing, I'm being ungrateful. Am I being ungrateful? Because if you're getting paid $10 million, $20 million guarantees to fight the fight you have, I think you might be being a little ungrateful, not taking into consideration what moves the needle for me. That's all I'm saying.
And look, at the end of the day, right? I agree with what's name said. But here's the point. We as fans are entitled to support our boxers. I support Tank Davis, and I want to see the best fights, just like you guys do. And it has nothing to do with Tank, because if it was so, and it was all about Tank, then why do you criticize the other boxers? It's okay for you guys to nitpick and criticize, talk about Shakur's heads, talk about Keyshawn ain't do nothing yet, talk about this and this. Why is he fighting the guy that was second in the division to Tank Davis? Like, all these things you pick, oh, he's moving short towards this guy. Loma's running away. Why is it okay for everybody else to critique the other fighters? But as soon as it comes to Tank, it's like, oh my God, listen, guys, get the barricade out. Here they come. They're throwing them this way.
What it is, Ray, is listen, man. I tell you guys, Tank has the best fans in the world, and I'm not being. There's no sarcasm in my voice. I'm being genuine with you. Like, that's what it's all about. If Terrence had fans like this, if Devin had fans like this, if Shakur had fans like this, if these other fighters had, even David Benavidez, Canelo Alvarez happens to have fans like this. There's certain rooms you can't say nothing about Canelo Alvarez without being, you just can't do it, right? But with Tank, he has those fans, and it's almost like, it's almost tragic, right? That you have a fan base like this, an intense fan base like this, and you don't feel any kind of urge in you to give them something, right? It's like you guys support him in everything, no matter what, fight for him tooth and nail, and he's never once said, what do they want? Let me get.
Chrome hot socks.
I've made all these fights happen in the past. I've made all this money, all this guaranteed money, but you know what? Let's get them Shakur, because damn it, these fans have got me through everything in my life. Made me one of the richest guys in boxing today, one of the highest paid boxers today, giving me all the things that I have in my life. Let me do one fight and do it not only for the money, not only because it's the best move, but be able to get on the microphone and says, this is for you guys. This one right here, the only reason I'm doing this, I don't even like this guy that I'm about to fight, but I'm going to do this for you guys.
Right. And this he doesn't have to as well. He doesn't have to as well. He has every right so. And I'm okay with that. But what I'm saying is, if you guys are, and you guys are the fans that's calling for these fights, I think the fighters that are there, that you guys are calling for the fights, that wanted these fights, have moved on for the most part. And that's respectfully on both sides. I don't care if he does or he doesn't. You know what I mean? I would like to see it. Liking and wanting to see it are two different things. And I think that we get overzealous with the things of, well, you know, let me You guys are overprotecting this or saying this, and you're saying this about Bill. And none of these guys have to do anything with Tank Davis or Gervonta Davis besides wanting a fight. If you think he wants a payday, then why is he giving people paydays that don't deserve them according to your guys' standards, right? All those standards are your standards. So if those guys don't deserve them, then why does the guys that are getting the fights deserve them? Because they're under the same umbrella? That's why they get them? Oh, Shakur should have signed a one-fight deal to the PBC. That's what he needed to do to get the Tank fight. Who guaranteed that? Where was it in writing? Please show me. Anybody got a list? Anybody? Anybody got that contract? No, you don't. Does Tank got that contract? Absolutely not. What about Steven Espinosa? Kiss my ass. No, he don't. Nobody has that in writing. You know why? Because it doesn't exist. And then y'all sit here and make these critiques of all these fighters and why he can't do this, why this guy can't do that. Yo, it's so funny because I'm in my Nick J say my name voice. You know what I mean? Why? Listen, I don't care. Call Al, y'all. That's it. That's what we heard from Devin, right? Call Al. Now we're hearing something else. Don't call Al. Who is this guy? What has he done? Oh, not only that he's an Olympian, 3-division champion, unified champion. Oh, and he's calling you out. And he said he'll substitute Loma, and then when he got the opportunity, that didn't happen. We heard, nah, man, you're not the fighter we looking for. We want somebody that brings a country with him. I'm just saying. So y'all can go cry a river somewhere else because my shoulders got my kids on it. We good. I'm carrying the load already. Pause.
Shout out to Swift 718. Continue to show color in the chat. Y'all got Swift being lonely up here. Yeah. Nobody doing like Swift, man. I appreciate you, brother. More than you could ever know, man. Says, and I love the passion of the Tank support team. We are paying fans, but please just be honest and admit that we, big capital letters on we, aren't wrong to feel how we do because of the circumstances. He's robbing his supporters of the best fights too. 100% Swift. That's what it always comes down to, man. And people, that's what it comes down. I think I saw in here. Shout out to Nine Fingers. That's my guy right there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Nine Fingers. And he says, why cover this guy if you don't like this guy, right? I'm be honest with you, man. Somebody once said, if you're not covering Tank Davis, then you're not covering American boxing, right? Because he is one of the most popular boxers in the space. And, he is also at the center of some of the biggest fights possible to be made in the space. Right. He's in the conversation, right? So you want to see Shakur Stevenson fight his best fight. You want to see him go against Tank Davis. You want to see, I'm going to say Devin, but Devin's gone now. He's completely out of the conversation, to be honest with you. But you want to see the best fights at 135 right now. You want to involve Tank Davis in the conversation. It is what it is. I see channels all day long, and it's interesting to me, right? Because you'll get the people who are going to push back at you for talking about Tank Davis. Keep in mind that we've been on for well over an hour, and we've spent about 15 minutes on Tank Davis and talked about a whole legitimate card that's coming up, each fight on the card, right? Speaking in depth about the fight. But we're finally getting to the part where we're going to talk about Paulie Malinaggi, who happened to say something and speak on Tank Davis's resume, and all of a sudden immediately talking, we're spending too much negative time on Tank. But you'll go on other channels, and look, I'm not no Devin Haney fan. I can't stress it to you guys. I don't think you guys can tell me the last time I talked about Devin Haney. I don't talk about him like that, right? But I'll see channels that'll make their whole entire show about criticizing him and his father. Nobody's in there saying, why do you even talk about Devin if you don't like him? Why do you put Devin in your thumbnails if you don't like him? Nobody says that, right? We all enjoy those conversations. 300, 400, 500 plus people inside of the chat participating and laughing and having a great time, throwing super chats into that conversation, holding this man accountable for not taking ownership of a loss against Ryan Garcia, for suing Ryan Garcia, for doing all those things, which you'll never see me push back at, because I always say the same way I'm saying right now about Tank Davis. It's well within your right to hold him accountable for that. If you feel like this was not in the likeness of a fighter, of a warrior, and he should have been fighting a certain way, I'm okay with that. You feel like he didn't keep his right hand up and that's why he got knocked out, not because of the Osirine, I'm okay with that. Listen, he did get hit in his face. I don't think Osirine made him drop his right hand. He did go in there with the bad strategy. I have no problem with him being held accountable, right? I'm not going to be the guy inside the chat going, all you guys do is hate on Devin Haney. All you guys do is this. But as soon as we try to hold Tank to some sort of accountability, to speak to him just giving us some good fights, celebrating him in our own way, right? Celebrating him saying that he's so good, he shouldn't be in the ring with a Lamont Roach, that he's way better than Lamont Roach. He's in a different category than Lamont Roach. We're saying he's up here. We're going this way with him, saying that he's actually here and who he's fighting is not there with him. And we want to see him fight with somebody who's equally, we're doing too much. I mean, look. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, guys. And, I've learned to deal with it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't get upset. I'm not as passionate as you guys might think I am. Sometimes I have a little fun poking at you guys a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you guys get so upset that sometimes I throw shots and you guys go crazy in the chat, right? But look, at the end of the day, what I do know and what I know is a consistent truth here is that if Tank Davis is going to retire, once he's retired and his career is over with, his resume and his career is going to be judged accordingly. Boxing fans, boxing pugilists, analysts across the space are going to have to speak on his resume, and we'll see how much weight his resume is going to hold then. It's not going to There's no avoiding it, right? He's made too much of a name for himself. He's made too much money. He's been called the face of boxing. He's never going to get away from what he's done as well as what he's not done. He's not going to get away from it. If Tank changes his mind in the coming months and decides that he's not going to retire and that he's going to go ahead and finish out this 7-fight deal that he has with Amazon for X amount of hundreds of millions of dollars that he supposedly has, if he decides to stand behind that deal and make these fights happen, then I promise you the conversation is going to is going to change at that point. You will hear me celebrate the living daylights out of Tank Davis if he announces a Keyshawn Davis fight or a Shakur Stevenson fight, or if he announces he's going up to 140 to challenge a Teofimo, or do something amazing. I celebrated him like crazy when he made the Frank Martin fight. People were saying, "Oh, that fight right there is a cherry pick. Who's Frank Martin?" I said, "This is a move in the right direction, though, guys. This Tank is showing us that he's actually going to be moving in another direction. He's making his own fights. This is amazing. Frank Martin is a great move. It's in the right direction." Did I think Frank Martin was going to win the fight? No, I didn't. But I thought it was a move in the right direction. A slick fighter, a more athletic fighter, a fighter who actually brings a pedigree that we want to see Tank fight against, a style that we want to see what Tank looks like, right? But at the same exact time, I'm going to hold him accountable for Hector Garcia, and I'm going to hold him accountable for Lamont Roach, right? Now, if he's going to fight a Lamont Roach or fight a Raymond Ford or fight a Monster Inoue or fight an Oshaki Foster or any of these guys, I think it'd be more honorable if he go ahead and cut the weight and move down to 130 pounds and fight those guys there, challenge them for their belts. That's why I'm trying to sit here and push Tank into a situation to where we can celebrate him in the right way. I'm saying, all right, if you're going to pull these guys up, you see that the boxing space does not believe that this guy is offering you a real challenge. Do something for the space, something. If you're not going to fight who you want to fight, well, at least fight Lamont Roach at where he's his best at. Fight him where he's proven at, where he's a champion. At least do that. Go to 130 and fight him there and take his belt off of him.
There you go.
And then unify down there. Do something that gives us something that we could be like, look, man, he's working with it. If he's too small and he has to be conscious and aware about who he's fighting at 135 because all these guys are cutting weight and they're being weight bullies and they're too big for him, then go down to 130. Either way, we're always going to ask. We're always going to push back. We're always going to ask for these fighters to give us the best fights that they can give us. And some fans will get it, and other fans will just say that we're hating. It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
You're 100% right. And just to say, like, Lamont Roach isn't a bum. He's not somebody that I think is a pushover. We're just saying it's the fight that no one wants to see. You guys are confusing the two. No one's saying that he's not a great fighter. He's a champion. We have to respect that.
Hold on a second. My bad.
Nope. He got to super chat it. Super chat only. We're not.
But I like what he said right here because it's the truth. It's the truth, Bub. What you said right here is the truth, brother. And I gotta laugh at what you're saying right now because it's the damn truth, bro. Would you want me to lie to you? Let me just read what you said at first before I answer it. But it's the damn truth, Bub. You damn right. He said, watch. They're gonna watch every round. You're right. But they're going to cry all day on camera. I don't know if we crying, but I understand what you're saying. I don't want to see this fight. This is not a good fight. I bet they report on it. 100% I'm going to, Bub. You know why? Because I love boxing, man. And Tank Davis is a great entertainer, bro. And one thing I know I'm going to get at that fight with Lamont Roach, I'm going to get excitement. I'm probably going to get a knockout. And as a boxing fan, who doesn't like that? It's the truth, man. So I got to laugh with you. If you're laughing at me, I'm laughing with you, laughing at me. You are right, man. I'm not the type of person to hide. I'm going to keep it 100, bro. I'm gonna watch that fight, and I'm gonna talk about that fight. But am I going to sit here after that fight and say something like, yo, Gervonta Tank Davis is the best in the world, bro? Now, I'm not going to say that because he didn't fight that kind of fighter. I'm going to say the fight was exciting. I'm going to give Lamont Roach his flowers for trying, for doing what he could do in that fight. But at the end of it, I promise you'll hear, but man, bro, it was somebody he pulled up for 130, man.
Right.
That's what it was. It's the truth.
And let's keep it 100, right? We also know, right? Let's keep it 100. Let's stay on the same pattern. Yes, that's all the things that's going to happen. But there also are real Tank fans, and I'm not going to say you're not a real Tank fan, but there are other Tank fans that believe this fight is not worth the money. They would rather see him fight the other fights. Let's scroll up a little bit. Play the reel where Rick Tim said, "Yes, I'm 100% a Tank fan." Let's read that on the screen because he just answered your own question about being a Tank fan. He wants to see quality opponents. He don't want to see Lamont Roach. He's been on record of saying that. And shout out to Rick Timms because I've heard content creators that support Tank saying this is not the fight I want to see. So let's not do that. And I didn't mean to put Rick on the spot, but he said it. What I'm saying is I don't care who he fights. Lamont Roach is a great fighter. I'm not going to take anything away from him. What Clay is saying is clearly you guys understand that Tank's probably going to knock out Lamont Roach without even thinking about it in a blink of an eye. You guys are just waiting to see when it happens. That's why you're paying for the fight. And but he got a super chat too. I ain't reading nothing that. You know what I mean? But it's crazy.
The warrior, bro. You know what I mean? Always speaking truth directly to Power's face. Right. that guy right there speaks truth legitimately in Power's face. Like legitimately. Shout out to Drew Titan, man. But 2 cents, I was trying to highlight what 2 said here. There it is. She said, don't fighters move up and down? Isn't that a normal occurrence in boxing? Man, all of the above, 2 cents, all of the above. But I'm going to tell you something that's different and something that I just, for me makes a difference in what you're saying here. You see that word fighters? We're not talking about fighters. We're talking about a specific fighter who has a certain pattern in their habits of making fights. We're speaking on Tank Davis right now, specifically speaking on him, and specifically speaking on him, not anybody else, saying that with what you're saying there, yes, why doesn't he do it? Off the strength that there's nobody at 135 who's trying to fight him now. This is the narrative, right? That Shakur ducked him and went to Matchroom, that Vasily Lomachenko didn't want to fight him, that these other fighters in the boxing space aren't available, they're not on the right side of the street or whatever have you. Instead of choosing to bring somebody up to you again, knowing that the boxing space has a certain visual and understanding on how you operate, why not push back at the system and do something that gives the fan something to hold on to? Go down to 130 and fight the guy you're planning on bringing up. Or go up to 140 and fight the guy instead of bringing him down. Do something at this point with the amount of money that's on the table, with the amount of pay-per-views that you want to sell, with the amount of money that's on the table with Amazon Prime, with PBC in general to impress them. Do something. Do something to make the fight a little bit more competitive. And even if it's just on the visual level, even if Lamont Roach doesn't legitimately compete with you at 130, if it's the same exact thing, if the next word that's going to come out of your supporter's mouth is, what's the big deal of 5 pounds? Then I'll push back and say, what is the big deal with 5 pounds? Why not go to 130 and make it happen? These are the things we're talking about, man. Very simple little tweaks and turns and movements that could be made in the way you approach things that could change a whole lot of the narrative on your career and what it looks like it's going to be from pundits across the space, man. And, I think that what you saw from Paulie Malinaggi represents what you're going to see a lot of these guys talking about as it becomes closer and more real that Tank is that Tank is actually retiring. As this thing becomes more real and starts catching steam, as we start getting closer to the end and Tank is still sticking to it, if he doesn't change his mind, if he's actually legitimately going to retire at the end of this year, you're going to start seeing more scrutiny, more pressure going on Tank Davis's resume. And it's going to be fair. It's going to be fair at that moment in time while it's happening. That's what I believe. It is what it is, man. Look, this is what I'm going to do, though, because this is such an interesting conversation. I am going to go ahead and put that link out.
Look,
you know what I mean?
Rock Clock bounced.
He did?
You know, I don't want to talk about Jake.
Yeah, I know he do. I know he don't. But that's why we talk about all the good stuff early, man. That way,
absolutely.
That way we give
everybody something. Probably like, oh my God, I can't.
I know, but look, it was an interesting thing that I saw. It was interesting seeing Paulie kind of finally, in my opinion, I feel like he finally spoke on it in complete way. I know he spoke about it in different ways, but he always does kind of try to stay away from it a little bit and kind of just be like, I know nobody cares to hear my mouth. They crucify me for what I've said about Canelo, and I'm about to say something about Tank that nobody cares about, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I thought he articulated it very well, man. He tried his best to not personally attack the guy, to really hold the guy accountable just on a boxing level. But I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, man. Paulie, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Shout out to Swift 18 with another $5 in the building, showing us love. Hey, guys, man, don't leave Swift by himself, man. Put $1 in it. What does Blue say? Put $1 in the chat. Refresh the super chat, man. Show a little love, man, to the channel. Even though we talking about your boy, man, at least we talking spicy and we're making it somewhat interesting. Swift 718 says, to be honest, I don't think any of Tank fights are worth the price tag, $80 or $90 to watch. Tank fight a handicap Ryan is a subpar good. Wow, man. Yeah, I was telling that to my cousin. I was saying that to my cousin the other day, man, what people are going to say about the Ryan Garcia fight. They were bringing up that fight to me, and they were saying to me that, look, my cousin said, listen, he fought Ryan Garcia here. I don't want to hear no excuses about this guy and his weight cut. And I said, this is what I said to my cousin. I said, listen, bro, Ryan Garcia doesn't have any excuses, but the boxing fans do. And I know it's kind of crazy to say that, right? But it's like Ryan Garcia made the deal. You know what I'm saying? He made the deal. He signed up for it. He better not complain. But the boxing fans who understand what they saw, they have a right to complain and be like, that was cute. That was adorable. We appreciate that. But no, we're not going to use that as the same. You didn't fight the same Ryan Garcia Devin Haney fought. You didn't fight the same Ryan Garcia that Oscar Duarte fought. You didn't fight a fully rehydrated, strengthened, potentially PED using, you know what I'm saying, Ryan Garcia in the fight that you fought. It was a great fight. You did great things in that fight. You showed that your levels above a lot of other people, but at the end of the day, we still want to see, we still thirsty to see, the boxing fans are still thirsty to see more competitive fights from you. It just is what it is. This is not just me, guys. I'm definitely speaking for myself, but I want you to understand that this is a huge narrative across the whole boxing space. So you may say it's not true or it's not right or whatever. It doesn't change the fact that this is happening and the fact that there's a way to deal with this in a way where let's not go down the same road no more. Don't bring up nobody else. Go down to somebody else if it's going to be that. Don't bring down nobody else. Go to them or make the fights in your division. But stop doing these things because you're going to get ridiculed for it. And you're talking about retiring, which doubles down and makes it even worse. You're talking about retiring now, and you haven't done it. So it just makes it worse. Shout out to 2 cents in the building.
Queen. I'm about to get beat up today.
Yeah, I'm going to shake the table.
I know. I already know. Oh, let me Hoodrich. Hoodrich says if he would have, hold on. Hoodrich said something significant. Said if he would have knocked Tank out, it would have been different. If Ryan would have knocked Tank out, you know what would have been? It would have been different. And what would have been different about? I'm like, damn, man. Ryan would always be able. The fans would always be able to say that Ryan would have done a worse thing to Tank if he would have been rehired. Nobody was ready to walk away from the fact. Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins literally didn't come to the post-press conference because they were so upset because they told Ryan not to do this, right? They knew how big of a deal the weight cut was going to be for Ryan. So if Ryan would have knocked out Tank Davis, it would have been effed up because it would have been like, damn, bro, it would have looked bad to have gotten knocked out by somebody depleted and not on point, as Ryan was complaining the whole entire preparation for this fight about how it was affecting him. So, but I agree with you. I think, you know, you're going to have fans that are going to go one way or the other. But me, I'm trying to really be as unbiased as possible and ride the fence to a degree. I'm trying to see it on both sides. I do think that potentially the solution for Tank Davis, just to kind of shut down all the nonsense, is going to have to be make a choice. Fight the people in your division. Fight the champions in your division. Unify. Don't put any rehydration clause. Don't make it weird. Or leave the division. Just keep it 100 that those guys are too big. Those guys are weight bullies. They're not supposed to be at 135. Whatever the narrative has to be. Go down to 130, man, and compete with those guys down there. Compete with Lamont Roach where he's best at, where he's proven at, where he's a a true champion at, which is at 130. Fight O'Shaquie Foster, fight Raymond Ford, fight all those guys down there at their weight. No excuses. Become a unified champion. Me personally, I'm gonna celebrate you for it. Maybe the boxing space might not be as forgiving. Let me shout out to one more super chat in the building with Drew Titan LLC says, I don't like Paulie in capital letters. Boy, when I say Drew speaks truth to power, you saw how you put those capital letters in there? That's how he feels. I
gotta do something real quick. I'm gonna come back.
Okay. He says, but I'd like to hear with the capital letters how the Tank fans respond to him while attempting to use logic. Paulie is capital letters in asshole bit, but challenge the fact. Man, talk about it.
Facts.
Don't get upset at him in his past and talk about and bring up his racism and the thing that he's done in the past. You know what I mean? I know those are the arguments that people want to use, but dispute his facts. Dispute what he's saying. Attack what he's saying with logic. Don't just jump on him emotionally and talk about what he's known for or try to, say what his narrative is. The only reason he's saying it is because he's mad at Tank. Maybe that's part of it too, but also what he's saying, is it true or not? You know what I'm saying? That part counts as well. And I tell you guys all the time, a liar telling the truth does not make the truth a lie. It's still the truth, no matter who tells the truth, as long as it is the truth.
Hey, Clay,
yeah.
You know what I was thinking just now? You're going to laugh. I don't know what got them riled up more. Me talking about the PBC and the fighters that before Tank lost their privileges, or Tank not fighting the best. I'm sorry. I was just in my head thinking that. It's crazy work, man. Both things can be true at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And look, Tim, I respect what you're saying. I like to use the words. I try not to use the word racist, because I don't think a person hates somebody. I mean, racist comes from hating. I don't want to break it all down. You know what I mean? Right. I don't think he hates black people. I think he's a bigot, and I think he's a prejudiced person due to the facts of the situations that happened to him and the people he lost to and things of that nature. So, you know what I mean? I don't like Paulie either. Clay knows this. He'll tell you all the time. That's why I told you. When you asked me if I watched his, what I say, Clay?
Yeah,
nope.
You didn't watch
it.
Right.
I really don't care. But some things he says are interesting. And when he makes certain points, I didn't see it, but I've heard him say things before, even against Bill and Devin Haney, against Bud Crawford, against other fighters, even Tim Bradley, his own Coles, right? When he said these things, I didn't disagree with everything he said in total. But I also understand where everybody's coming from, where, you know what I mean, in the defense of Tank Davis. I understand these things, but we have to learn to separate the two. And that's what we just keep trying to say.
I'm going to let you hold down for 1 second.
Money. Go ahead. Go for super chat. Oh, hold it down. My bad. All right, well, we got a $10 super chat from Swift 718 in the building. Salute at, I think, 9 fingers. Tank isn't must see to me. Not doing anything special to make him see makes him can't miss. I'd rather go out and enjoy my Saturday night with a fine female or watch UFC. I mean, that's a strong statement, right? That's a very strong statement. And why do you feel that way?
No, let me just read one more time, because I just got back. Salute fingers. Tank isn't must see to me, capital letters, not capital letter, doing anything special to make him can't miss. Wait, nothing doing anything special to make him can't miss. I'd rather go out and enjoy my Saturday night with a fine female or watch UFC. I think that's a legitimate statement. Also, I know it sounds cruel and mean again, but once again, maybe seeing it live, there's something special about it, but you're definitely not watching a Tank fight wondering what's going to happen. And that's usually what makes it must see. Must see is usually like, I don't want to miss nothing. Like David Morrell, David Benavidez, you don't want to miss it because you don't know what's going to happen for real. Right. You know what's going to happen with Tank. So if you watch it on a replay, it's probably not as good as necessarily as live and watching in the room with a bunch of people watching it live, but you're not missing that much. When you wake up in the morning, you look on the internet and it shows you that Tank stopped this guy in the 7th, 8th, or 9th round. You're kind of expecting that. But there'll be some FOMO, because if Lamont Roach was able to knock Tank out and you missed that, you would feel like you missed a lot, man. It is what it is.
Right. And shout out to Hunter Young. I mean, I don't know if you mean he went up 2 weight classes from 130. He did. He went to 140 to fight Barrios. But that was a fight that a lot of people didn't want to see. They just liked it because it was they thought it was a difference in matchup. Being that you had a 6-foot fighter, heavier fighter, fighting someone as small statured as Gervonta. And I think Gervonta did well. Listen, me and Clay talk about this all the time. He rose to the occasion on that one. Pause. I mean, he got into that 7th round, and when he heard he was down on scorecard, you seen a different Tank. Tank was sitting there trying. It looked like he was trying to figure out. I mean, but he started baiting this guy. He started showing his ring IQ. He started showing his abilities, how to box and be the guy that he is. So look, all those disrespectful things you thought I said about Tank, I never disrespected his accolades. Not you, not none of you guys like Hood Rich and those guys. Never disrespected his accolades. Never disrespected what he done in the ring or his promises that he gave us. Only thing I ever said was the fans that want to see these fights. I'm rebuttaling you guys. You guys say you want to see the fights, but then you want to throw the bag in the picture, or you want to say they haven't done anything. That's what we're saying. The pay-per-views, that shit shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter, especially when he's fighting guys at smaller weights that have never done these things, especially when he's fighting guys that he's gotten bags for that never done those things. That's what Clay and I are saying. That's what most of the people that rebuttal some of the comments you guys say are saying. And as far as me being emotional, bro, I just came over for cool, but nah, figures, it's cool, man. I respect you. You know what I mean? Emotion is in our blood, right? But guess what? I'm a man, bro. I don't get emotional. I don't feel these things. You know what I mean? It's just conversation about another man that ain't helping paying my bills, ain't doing none of that. That I'm enjoying to watch fight, and I don't even care if you want to lose at the end of the day. It's just something for me to talk about on this channel. Just keeping it real. We got another super chat in the building from Drew Titan.
Man, shout out to Drew Titan, man, showing love. From Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Well, he's talking about Yusef Hawkins. Yeah, we all remember about Yusef Hawkins, man. Rest in peace, Yusef. He also told me that Ahmaud Arbery got himself deleted. I posted our convo on my channel. That aside, he told the truth about Tank. Yeah, you know, when it comes to the Paulie Malinaggi situation, and you know what he said there about Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, it's real about Bensonhurst, right?
Yeah.
I think Paulie Malinaggi's relationship with boxing, and it's kind of like close to like what Tiafimo was kind of saying about, you know, celebrate your black fighters. When it comes to athletics and sports, especially things like basketball, football, boxing, those type of things, it's soccer, you know what I mean? Well, really just, I'll be honest with you, in America, being that you have that racism in the background, always kind of lingering when it comes to the race culture here in America. When you're talking about Bensonhurst and the Italian population out there, I'm not turning this into a whole education thing, trying my best not to, but I do want to speak some truth to it, to say that I do believe that there's always been sort of some racial tension going on between the Italians in Bensonhurst and the blacks in Brooklyn, you know what I mean? But I also think there's a lot of reverse energy going on now as far as in the boxing space, being that, you know, the Italians like Paulie Malinaggi, or, you know, the white people in the boxing space are kind of the minority to the great black fighters, right? To the most talented black fighters. And you got to think that a lot of them do take the backseat to a lot of these fighters. You know what I mean? How many, you know what I mean? They don't accomplish as much in the sport as these other guys do, and they're not expected to. So there's a little bit of defense, a little chip on their shoulders when they're speaking on certain things. They're in a space to where they don't run it. It's kind of like playing basketball, right? They go to the basketball court, it's LeBron, it's Steph, it's, you know what I mean? The white players, you know what I'm saying? They kind of get a little bit of the American ones, because you'll see the European ones don't deal with it as much as that way. They come in kind of ready to deal with it. Like you look at the Eastern European fighters, they don't get caught up in the racial stuff too much. They don't care. They come over here from humble beginnings, hard lives. They come over here to compete at the highest level, and they do their talking in the ring. But outside the ring, an Italian like Paulie Malinaggi, who's always been a big talker, very vocal kind of guy, has put himself in a position to where he's speaking his truth. His truth is probably about how he feels like he's been judged by the black community in boxing, and how much, you know, lack of recognition he got or whatever have you. So he comes off as racist. I don't think the man is racist. I'll be real with you. I haven't seen nothing for me to personally say he's racist, but I do think he's bold and he will speak his mind. And if he thinks race has something to do with it, he has no problem speaking on it completely. He has no problem speaking to it for what he feels like it is. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he says when he talks to the race stuff, but I do feel like, you know, I've seen him have a lot of relationship with the community in multiple different ways. But when he's criticizing, he doesn't hold back. He doesn't believe. He might even double down just off the strength that he knows he's going to be scrutinized for his opinion. He may even double down, and it's going to shake people up. It's going to shake people up the wrong way. It is what it is.
Shock culture. That's what it is.
Yeah, it is. But I definitely don't knock anybody who has anything negative to say about what Paulie said in the past, because he said things. I've heard him say things where I watch the screen, I go like this. Ooh, they're gonna get you for that one, bro. You went hard in the paint for that one. Ouch, Paulie. Did you have to say it like that? But I do believe in my heart that he's just speaking his truth, his version of speaking truth to power. He feels like the minority. He feels like he's speaking. You know what I mean? He feels like he's being courageous by speaking to it, even though people aren't going to like it. That's how he thinks. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But you can't take away his relationship with the Sean Porters, with the Tim Bradleys, with the Roy Jones, with a lot of people. He has a lot. Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather. Like most of his. He's adopted a lot of black energy. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop energy. You can tell he lives in that society. It's just that in New York, it's
crazy.
The relationship, New York is a unique place from the rest of America, man, because people just don't care, bro. I'm just be real with you. Like, they don't care. An Italian gets in it with you, you might get an N-bomb. It might get thrown in your face. And it's not going to be off of like, I want you getting lynched, but it's we're talking shit to each other and it's going there. You know what I mean? You're going to say crazy stuff to me. I'm finna say crazy stuff to you. And we can scrap about it, whatever it's going to be. We can tear up the streets. It is what in New York, it's like that. Where in the South, it's more like rooted in like slavery. In New York, it's more, the whole city is pretty much immigrants. You're either an immigrant from Italy, from Russia, from the West Indies. You're Puerto Rican, you're black, you're Haitian, you're Jamaican, you're Italian, you're Russian, you're Polish. Everybody's from somewhere else, and it's a big racial. It's a big melting pot, and everybody ain't shit, and everybody's cussing each other out. Yep. Everybody's cussing each other out. It's the way the city operates. Shout out to Swift 718 putting another $10 in it. Fastest car run if it ain't gonna go at top speed faster than the 10th fastest car. Better off paying to see the second and the third fastest car hit their red line. It's a better performance. I like it. What do you think of that one, Ray?
I think that's fair to say. I mean, again, he's right. Who's gonna get on that motorcycle, right, and try to race a car, right, and really be able to push it to its limits without a road curving or having a bend that you really can't hit? Who's going to get a car and be able to go 2,000 miles, 200 miles per hour when you got cars and traffic in front of you? You're never going to do it. So the best thing is to get something that you can hit the red line in, hit something, get a little energy boost, you know what I mean? Get that nitrous flowing, and then slow it down. You know what I mean? Get the turbos banging. You know what I mean? Pop some bangs out the exhaust. You hear it? Cool. You can do that sitting there just revving the engine. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that that's 100% factual.
And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, non-fingers. Y'all gonna have to get over it, because we're gonna watch the fight and we gonna bitch about the things we don't like.
Yep.
We're gonna do it all, bro. You know
I'm gonna watch it all. And Clay, I'm gonna watch it while he watching it. So it's all good. I'm gonna watch it and then I'm gonna complain about it, bro. You damn right. Y'all better learn. Listen, man, we're gonna do it all, bro. We're gonna complain, we're gonna watch it, we're gonna celebrate, we're gonna do it all, baby. We're gonna do it all. You know what I mean? Welcome to America, man. Where else would I rather live than in my country, bro? Where I can do all those things. I wouldn't be surprised that Royal fight steals the show again.
Shout out to my country, man. Shout out to my country, bro. I could sit here, watch it, complain about it, be mad, but still shoot him to 80, be mad that he made, and I can do it all, man. And I'm going to do it all, man. I'm going to do it all, man. Straight up. Shout out to Albert Rael. I'm not familiar with you. I haven't even read it. I hope it doesn't say nothing crazy on here, but this is your first time on the channel. Welcome to the channel, man. Feel free to hit the subscribe button as well. We appreciate it, and definitely hit the like button, man. Let's help the algorithm be where it's supposed to be. Albert Rael says, something I heard from Norman Sr. Oh, let's talk about that, yeah? Norman Sr. said that Santillan was supposed to win, and Teofimo was gonna fight Santillan, but Norman Jr. beat him. Why don't Teofimo fight Brian Norman Jr. for the same? Oh, I like this question right here. I don't know if you want to go into, but I definitely have an opinion and perspective
a little bit already.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, he even tried to throw some little trickle downs, like, yeah, I'll fight him. And then when the fight was brought to his attention, what did he do? Teofimo backed out of the deal. He didn't want to fight Brian Norman. He started chasing Bud, and he started chasing Boots. in other aspects of the fights and getting his name out there. It just seemed like he didn't want to fight. It looked like he was just barking up the wrong tree and it backfired, or he was just blowing smoke out of his ass. Whichever one he wanted to do, that's what happened. But it was something that was brought to the table, and Bob was interested in it. Even Norman actually brought it back because that was one of the tail ends of him not fighting for that mandatory, because it was Boots or Tio that was in the picture of the conversation. And then he kind of turned his attention once Brian Norman was like, yeah, we'll take the Tio fight if Boots don't want to fight. As soon as that happened, he moved the needle over to Boots and said he'll fight Boots. So I remember the conversation very well.
Yeah. Pretty much. Hold on. I got a guy named Castro in the background. Not familiar with you. We really rather you open the camera up at least to show that you're real.
Clay. It's me, Texas 16 South, bro.
Oh, so let's get it. Let's get it,
Texas 16. My brother.
Hey, I'm actually a day late on what I wanted to say, bro. I was tied up yesterday doing dishes and cooking when y'all were talking about Boots and the Hitchison fight. I wanted to compare some notes about Boots. Okay, I'm a Virgil fan, right? And we can talk shit all we want about him dunking him and him not going to 154 to fight him, and after he talked all that shit, right? But in reality, when all that's said and done and all the he and ha-ha is over with, it's going to benefit Boots to stay there and fight those smaller people at 147 and get that incurred ring time and that ring knowledge and that live action time versus smaller people. Whereas the people at 154, like Virgil and Bud and other people, they'll be fighting bigger people and incurring more punishment and greater punishment because they're fighting bigger people. Mm-hmm. So in actuality, when it's all said and done, Boots did make the right move by staying at 147, fighting those smaller people, getting that live ring time, incurring that fucking knowledge and shit, bro. So saying that, like, just to you Boots fans, just remember that and keep that in mind, bro. While the people at 154 are fighting bigger people, incurring greater damage on the body over time, once Boots moves up there and gets 147 out the way, he will be the fresher fighter at that point in time. So in actuality, it did benefit him. Regardless of the shit that we talk about him dunking that Mexican Virgil, it's still going to benefit him in the long run, regardless of who he fights and when he gets there to 154. Now, the other thing I wanted to speak on was the Hitchisons and Tio fight. Okay, we seen Hitchisons hit the fucking rehydration clause and go 12 and perform and get a win, right?
Right.
I want to see what he's going to do versus Tio without a rehydration clause. I want to see if he looks good, if he looks better or worse. And that'll show his versatility, saying that, okay, Hitchison, we've seen him on the rehydration clause go 12 and get a victory. And if he beats Tio without a rehydration clause, regardless of how he wins, that's showing versatility. So with or without a rehydration clause, he can perform. So that's what I'm looking at in that Tio and Hitchison fight. And I want to know what Devin thinks about that, because Devin's never had to hit a rehydration clause and perform. And he's already seen Hitchison hit that rehydration mark and perform and win. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking for in the Tio and Hitchison fight. I want to see what Hitchison's made of, if he can perform with and without a rehydration clause. That's what I wanted to say yesterday, bro. Sorry for taking the show back to yesterday, bro. But I just wanted to get that off my chest, bro. I've kind of felt punked yesterday by not clicking the link, bro. So I had to come back and establish myself and say what I have to say, bro.
I like it. I did have a question, though. I like that. So with the Boots situation, do you think that benefits Boots also, like you just said, getting that experience more in the ring with championship contenders and better quality fights? When he does make the move up, it makes his opportunity better, gives us better fights at 154, even though these guys are experienced there and used to the punishment up there?
There is better fights at 154, but in actuality, he's not ready yet. Obviously,
that's what I was asking.
I mean, we can see it in his inner chi and his inner confidence. He's not ready to go to 154 yet. Let him hang out there. And if you think about it, him and Boo Boo were in the Corona class. There was 2 years of inactivity where their fucking career kind of got hindered or kind of suffered from it. Right. So, you know, he is in that Corona 19 class or whatever it was. So, restate your question, Ray.
Okay. So I was saying that if Boots stays, like you're saying, like he stays there, he gets his work and he fights better competition now at 147. Does that better prepare him for the Virgil Ortiz's, if Bud's still there, the Magic, things of that nature? At 154?
I don't think it better prepares him. It just preserves him. because he's fighting naturally smaller people. Boots being 5'10" and everybody else being smaller than him at 147. So even if Boots has a tough, dragged out fight, it's still not going to be the same long-lasting punishment that the fighters at 154 are currently taking, because they're fighting people who are naturally 200 pounds. Whoa. So skill-wise, no. It just preserves his body. It preserves his well-being. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's great point. And Clay, 2 cents. You guys want to answer that?
Yeah, I'm gonna tap in. I'm gonna bring 2 cents in and say, man, I love the breakdown you had about the whole entire Hitchens and Teofimo. I love that. I love the Boots breakdown as well too, because I agree with you, man. I think there's some benefits to Boots hanging out at 147 just a little bit longer, going after those unification title fights, taking advantage of the activity that Eddie Hearn is giving him, taking advantage of the activity and also the accolades that come with it, with unifying those belts down there, and also preserving himself just a little bit longer, getting a little bit more experience in that ring, coming up to 154 as the fresher fighter makes sense to me. I think a lot of those fighters are going into some hard fights. When you think about what Virgil went through with Serhii Bahachuk, and then what he's probably going to be going through with Madrimov, he's taking real hard fights. We're going to celebrate Virgil for that, giving us fans what we want, but we can't go ahead and not count the fact that there's going to be some wear and tear in there. And a lot of those fighters are going through that. You got a lot of hard punches at 154. When Boots does come in there, there's a good chance that his fresh, preserved mindset and newfound, he's probably going to level up as far as him being a boxer, being in all the rounds that he's getting in at 147. It's going to benefit him. I also love the Teofimo Hitchinson thing, because now Hitchinson has proven himself against Liam Paro. He did the rehydration clause. We questioned that at the end of the Gustavo Lemos fight about what he looked like in that fight, and was it because of the rehydration clause under that IBF rehydration clause? It even made him second guess himself going against a Subriel Matias, right? But then he took the challenge to fight Liam Paro, fought well, won the fight, better than what I thought the judges gave to him. I thought it was a unanimous decision. The judges were kind of weird with the way they looked at it, but regardless, came out on the other side an IBF champion. But now getting an opportunity to unify with Teofimo Lopez takes him out of that rehydration clause. Now we get to see him outside of that clause get the big fight that he probably would have never gotten without that jewelry he picked up against Liam Paro. Let's see what he does, man. Let's see if he's one of those guys, because he's a big 140-pound fighter right now and a champion right now. I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of it, man. 2 cents. Salute to you, Queen. How you feeling, man?
Good. What's up? Clay, Ray, Chat, Castro, what's up?
Salute to you, 2 cents.
Somebody just said something crazy to me at work and spoiled my whole energy. But listen, I was coming up here to just ask y'all a few questions as far as like things like rehydration clauses. Let's talk about that for a second. A lot of people keep trying to act as if a rehydration clause is not a normal occurrence in boxing. So much so, it's so normal, so much to the point that the sanctioning bodies have started implementing weight clauses for their championship fights. So my question is, are the sanctioning bodies putting their champions at a disadvantage when they fight because they have a rehydration clause?
Can I go? Oh, go ahead.
Are they putting them at a disadvantage? I think it could be. I think that's up to the fighter, right? I mean, I think the whole idea behind a rehydration clause is to make the fighter more honest, right? To make the fighter, to give the fighter vested interest if he's not supposed to be in the weight class, to go up to the next weight class. And if he can make the rehydration clause and still be an efficient fighter, give him an opportunity to do that. I don't think it's to help or hurt the champion. It's not there. The rule isn't there to help or hurt anybody. If anything, it's to help the people who are really supposed to be in that weight class not get taken advantage of and weight bullied by people who aren't supposed to be in the weight class, right? So it could hurt. And
so let me stop you right. Let me stop you right there, not to cut you off. So let me ask you a question. Why is Tank Davis being discredited for his Ryan Garcia win because he made Ryan Garcia be honest about the weight with the rehydration clause? Because as you know and as you see, Ryan clearly has been playing weight games with his opponent. And it's unfortunate that Devin didn't put him on a rehydration clause so that he wouldn't allow him to have an advantage and play him with the weight games. My whole point is I'm trying to make, especially with the Tank moving up and moving down and bringing fighters up and bringing fighters down. Tank moved down to fight Leo. Tank moved up to fight Barrios, but he ain't done nothing though. Tank bringing up a fighter, a champion, from 130 to fight him at 135, which you already said yourself is a natural occurrence in boxing. It happens all the time. The whole thing I'm asking is, why does Tank Davis get so much scrutiny for things that are natural occurrences in boxing? Why is it so like he doing something out of the ordinary, or like he doing something that's just so give him this great advantage? You get what I'm saying? Like, I understand y'all point. Don't get me wrong. I see y'all perspective, but let's not act like he's not doing just regular stuff in boxing and he's done absolutely nothing to deserve his fans and all of this stuff, and they just let him do it. Like, it's the narrative. Like, I get y'all point. Don't get me wrong. I get y'all point, but it's getting to a point where it's just starting to get hyperbolic with it. And and I'm hearing now, like, Tank ain't done nothing. He ain't fought no champion. Like, it's getting ridiculous. And when you try to come out and just point it out, like, now you a Tankamaniac and you ain't holding them accountable and all of this other stuff. Like, come on. That's all I came up here to say. Like,
hey, look, 2 cents. You gotta put this in perspective. The weight clause gets the people in training camp before fight night. Like, you can't feed the beast while you're pulling and trying to train for the fight, because you got to worry about the rehydration clause. You can't get so big. So a lot of people just think the rehydration clause only affects the fighter on that night. No, it affects the fighter in camp as well, because you can't feed the beast. You can't feed the recoup. You can't feed the recovery or the rest as you're pulling from the body. So the real, like, boxing minds see that and know that. They're not just looking at the fighter on fight night. They're thinking about in camp how he couldn't feed the beast because he couldn't blow up, because there was a limitation on him, his blow up, his bounce back, his revamp. So that's like the whole picture. That's the whole vision of it. It's not just the fight night situation. It's the whole camp. They've got to keep that weight mark in their sights. They can't surpass it.
No, I hear what you're saying, but my point is, if you fighting for a championship belt in a sanctioning body that has a rehydration clause, you're going to have the same issue. That's the whole point I'm trying to make, is that it's not like this one fighter is the only person doing this to get an advantage. No, to put a fighter at a disadvantage. No, plenty of fighters have rehydration clause. It's to take away an advantage, not to put you at a disadvantage. Now, y'all already know, just like Clay just said, the rehydration clause is to keep you honest. And we all know Ryan Garcia is not honest. So I'm just trying to say, like, let's stop trying to discredit Tank for that win. That's all I'm trying to say.
I want to say, let me just speak to the super chat, and I like what you're saying, 2 cents, and I think it's fair, but I'm going to give some perspective on it, push back on a little bit of it, but for the most part, I agree with you 100%. I don't think there's nothing to disagree about. I think you're being reasonable, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna speak to it in a minute. Let me just go ahead and acknowledge this with Swift 718. He says Tank gets scrutiny because he's regarded as the best. The best shouldn't handicap opponents and then celebrate victory over weekend to pray. And that's going to kind of go into a little bit of what I'm going to speak on, right? And what I'm going to say is, yes, Ryan Garcia, I'm not taking the Ryan Garcia victory away from Tank, because Ryan Garcia made a decision to sign up for whatever rehydration clause, whatever rules, whatever contingencies were in that agreement. That's what Ryan Garcia decided to do. And I'm going to give Tank that victory, right? But what I'm going to say is, at some point when it comes to Tank Davis, the things he did in the past, it's okay. But if he doesn't do things in the future, right, to quell the flames of questions that are coming his way, if he doesn't begin to make fight people who legitimately don't need a rehydration clause, don't need to be pulled down, don't need to be pulled up, who just can fight him on an even playing field to where nobody has anything to poke at, and he leaves the boxing space and retires, and only leaves these questionable fights that are always going to be brought up about Leo Santa Cruz only fighting one fight at, at 126 and getting pulled up to 130, or fighting one fight at 130, or whatever that story
Leo Santa Cruz was a champion at 130, though.
He only fought like 2 fights in that division. He fought most of his career 117, 122. Like, that's where he fought most of his career at. But it doesn't matter, right? That was a great fight. Leo Santa Cruz is a great fighter, probably going to go in the Hall of Fame at some point. He was a great fighter, right? But it's okay. That fight was okay. It was a good fight. when you're talking about Mario Barrios and going up to fight Mario Barrios, it's cool, right? But then you come to find out later that Mario Barrios had a rehydration clause and that he was actually going to head to 147, that he was at the last bit of who he was going to be at 140. When you bring that up, it puts questions there, right? When you bring up the Ryan Garcia situation and him being a 145 that you brought down to 136 and then put a 10-pound rehydration clause on him, it's okay. Ryan agreed to it, but boxing fans across the space, just a little bit speaking toward what Texas 16 was saying, are going to question those things and say, listen, it's okay. You did those things, but we want to see you move forward and go in another direction. Very similar to what Swift 718 said, that we don't want to hear no excuses at the end of the fight. Give us a fight with nothing to poke at. Just two fighters, two great fighters in the ring fighting each other at their best, where they're their best at, and give us those fights before you leave. So when you fight Shakur Stevenson, he'll be a champion in your division. You'll be unifying. There won't be no rehydration clauses. It'll be a unification title fight. There'll be no excuses. It'll be the greatest victory you have. When you fight against Vasily Lomachenko, no excuses, no rehydration clauses. He's a 135-pound champion. Great fights. When you fight against Keyshawn Davis, if he beats Dennis Baranchek, no rehydration. A champion in your division, no excuses, great fights. We won't care no more about what happened in the past. We'll understand that was a resume you were building up, that you were building up a career. We'll understand that the PBC and your handlers were moving you in the right direction to get you rich as well as put you in position to get these victories. And we'll understand that all these stepping stones built up to these moments that we're talking about. But if you leave and don't give us the moments, it puts the resume under scrutiny. It just does, because as a champion, as the best fighter in the world, as the face of boxing, the fans have expectations. There are boxes that fans want to see get checked, not because they want to hurt you, but because they believe certain things about you. The eye test tells them that, but they want the confirmation coming through the fights that you fight in the ring. Let me acknowledge two super chats that we got in the building here. Right? Or I want
to respond to one of them.
No, I'm going to come right back to you, 2 cents. But let me just go ahead.
Respond to it, please, before that.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No,
okay. Well, let me just get these super chats. I'll be fast. Swift 718 back in the building, showing love with another $5. It says he's the best. It's everyone the cheat code. Then how is he the best? I mean, yeah, man. That's what. And listen. Boxing fans are going to speak that way, man. Real boxing fans are going to speak exactly how Swift is speaking. So we can scrutinize the boxing fans and just say they're being unfair, but at some point we can acknowledge what they're saying as well as not being the worst thing in the world. They're just asking for what we've asked for all the great fighters before them to do. And at some point, that has to start counting as well. It's not just hate. Boxing Hacker says, let's be real for once. Fighters put rehydration clauses on other fighters for an advantage. 100%. If I know you're struggling making weight and I don't, I will use a rehydration clause to weaken you. Fight antics. I mean, I agree, man. I mean,
so wait, let me ask Boxing Hacker a question.
Wait, one more super chat, and I'm done. Swiss 718 says, what would have happened if Tank fought X fighter at 100%? We don't want this to be Tank's career. Yeah, man, it is what it is, man.
Not to cut you off, a question for you.
But Ray had something he wanted to say right quick. I don't know if he wants to pass it to 2 cents or if he wants to go.
I just want to ask him that question. Let him ask you a question. I'm a response.
Go ahead, 2 cents.
So, first of all, Tank only had a rehydration clause for 2 fights.
What were they?
And that was Ryan Garcia, because he's not honest, and Mario Barrios, because he moved up in the weight to fight him. Now, my question is, they're talking about implementing a rehydration clause in the Shakur Stevenson Kid Austin fight. Which one of those fighters are at the disadvantage because of the rehydration clause?
I don't know who's at a disadvantage. I think it's just keeping both of them honest, just keeping them both. And I don't know.
Real quick, and I'll double down on that. Frequency in the back, by the way. Just want to let
you know. That's my point that I'm making. That's my point.
I got you. She said. So my question is to this: why did Leo Santa Cruz, who just moved up for 2 fights, and Tank, who just moved up for 1 fight, and Leo moved up to fight Tank, right? But Tank had a problem with his weight at the time. He was juggling weight. He was walking around close to 170 out of his own mouth, right? And he was living a bad life. That's the reason why he got healthy. So why did he put a rehydration clause on Tank at the time when he came back down to 130 from 135 after the fight with Gamboa?
Who put a rehydration clause on Tank?
Let me ask. and he missed weight on the scales on top of that, right? So where was the rehydration clause there? Not only that, let's ask.
Wait, I'm confused about your question. What you asking?
Yeah, me too. I think you got to go back a little bit.
Okay,
I think I'm lost.
So Tank Davis, right? He's been known to say that he was living a bad life and he was walking upwards around 170 pounds outside of the ring. He did this while he moved up from 130 to 135 because he had trouble making weight on the scales. When he moved up to 135, he had one fight. Went back down to fight Leo Cruz, who went up to chase Tank. He was actually chasing Tank for the lower divisions. Why didn't he put a rehydration clause on Tank, knowing he was ballooning up so big? And he could have been ballooning up to 150, 160, fighting Leo Santa Cruz. We don't know that, right? At the end of the day, we also have to look at the picture that Tank missed weight twice at 130, including that Leo Santa Cruz fight, which shows that he was not maintaining weight good. And he wasn't handicapped with no rehydration clause. That fight went on. So why is it critical? And this is not me being typical. This is me just countering your question. Why is it typical for Leo to have to suffer through that and not Tank when it comes to other fighters or bigger fighters?
That's a good question, and I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But my whole point is that regardless of if a fighter does it or don't do it, these things that we are being so hyperbolic about with Tank, and I get y'all arguments, it's valid, it's cool, but these things we're being so hyperbolic about with Tank are natural occurrences in boxing. That's the only point that I'm trying to make. And
if I can, I want to speak to this rehydration thing a little bit too, y'all. Salute, y'all.
So hold on before you go. I just think Texas 16 was going to say something right quick. I know he was holding. I think.
All right, yeah, I got something to say. Okay, I just wanted to bring something else to the 2 cents fucking vision. Okay, okay, just like Claymore said, an even playing field, right? Okay, Tank fought Ryan, beat Ryan. Okay, we'll give you that. If he was to fight Shakur and Devin at this moment in time, they've outgrown that division. So therefore, there is no even playing field in those fights, even if we were to get those fights. So let's say Tank
if there is no rehydration
clause. Let's say we do get those fights. So you mean to tell me when Tank's career is over, every single big fight he had, it's all rehydration clauses? What past greats have done that? What past greats have had that in their portfolio? Like I said, even if we do get the Devin and the Shakur fight, it's going to be with the rehydration clause. So therefore, all his big fights are going to have rehydration.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that? If Tank fights Shakur at 135, he's not going to have a rehydration clause.
Yeah, I don't think.
Like I said, the only time there's a rehydration clause is to take your advantage away. Shakur's at 135, bro.
Okay,
he told Ryan, if you make 135 deal at match,
by the time that 2-fight deal's over, he will not be at 135.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's not Tank's fault.
Well, you're right, Clay.
We don't know that, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Wait, hold on.
Can I say this?
Her vision, her recognitions.
All right, hold on one second. Let's just organize it back, bring it back to frequent. He was going to say something. Let him get the floor, and then I don't know. I guess Ray, you'll get it back and disperse it.
No, 2 Cents wanted to reply. I'll let her reply to.
Okay, so frequent, go ahead and build, and then we'll let 2 Cents reply.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to speak a little bit to these this rehydration clause thing. It's not the same thing as far as Tank and the natural occurrences that you're talking about, 2 Cents, because Tank is actually putting rehydration clauses in his contracts. It's not, just already there naturally, whereas if you fight...
Not to interrupt, you're basically saying it's not in the sanctioning body rules. It's something that he's freely choosing.
Yeah, it's something that he's adding on to the fight. It's something that he's adding in the contract and getting... It's not irrelevant because you're comparing the two and you're saying like they're the same, but they're not. If you're fighting for a title
if it was such a big deal, why would the sanctioning bodies do it? If it puts you at such a disadvantage, why would they even do it?
They do it. I think what Frequent is saying, it happens naturally with certain sanctioning bodies, naturally in their rules and their regulations on how they do it. But when the fighter himself is implementing it as part of the only way the fight's going to happen, he's implementing it, saying the only way this fight's going to happen is if we implement this rehydration clause. It removes the sanctioning bodies from that particular negotiation, and it becomes more of a side privilege that's been taken advantage of. I'm gonna let Frequent.
I was going to say that too. It's a different thing because it's something that's enforced by the A side. You know, like when Ray was talking about when Leo Santa Cruz, you know, he was coming up, and so why didn't he put a rehydration clause on Tank? Because he couldn't. He wasn't the A side. You know,
Yeah, I hear what
he
you're
didn't have the
saying, but
privilege to do that. But
you're not arguing my point.
There you
Though,
go, Too Rich.
this is what I was trying to say about your point, though. You're saying that it's the same thing as if the sanctioning body does it, but it's not, though. It's not the same thing.
I'm not saying
because
it's
you got one fighter. Because you got one fighter.
Is it a rehydration clause? Is that?
Yes, it's a rehydrate. Yeah, but you're acting like you don't understand that the circumstances are different. With a rehydration clause, with the sanctioning body, you have two people in the same weight class. You know, they're fighting. You know, they're already acclimated to that weight division. You know, but whereas with Tank, you know, he's pulling somebody down from a higher weight class and, you know, pulling them down. They're already struggling to get down to that weight. And then he's putting the rehydration clause on top of that.
So just to be clear, real quick, guys,
and
WBA does not have a rehydration clause, so that is all on Tank.
Yeah, and so I understand what you're saying, and I understand why Tank did it, you know, because Ryan Garcia is trying to play weight games. You know, he never even made 140 before. He's always came in at 143, but then he want to come down and try to fight Tank, but he don't want to make the weight. He don't want to get all the way down to 135. So Tank, you know, is saying, okay, the most we gonna give up is 1 pound, you know, and a rehydration clause on it. So, you know, because Ryan Garcia is playing weight games, I understand why he did it, and I think he should have done it, you know, but there is clearly a difference, though. You know, and that's the pushback, because you're getting a Ryan Garcia that's not full capacity. You know, getting a Ryan Garcia that's drained, you know, that struggled to get down to 136, and then he's not allowed to rehydrate. So he's not at full power. You know, he's not strong. You know, he's weak.
But I hear y'all.
So it's an advantage.
But why is it? But that's what I'm saying. Like, why is that a negative on Tank? Because Ryan Garcia didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Not that it's a negative, 2 cents. Not that it's a negative, but people are pushing back. People question, can he really actually beat Ryan Garcia if he hadn't done that? You understand that? Like if they were on equal playing field, then, you know, people are questioning, oh, would Ryan Garcia be that easy to beat then?
Listen, rehydration or not, they wouldn't have been on an equal playing field.
Exactly.
You understand that, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I see that. That's why I said I ain't mad at it. I think that Tank should have done it.
Exactly. What I'm saying is what he did in the past is not really being questioned yet. It is getting questioned. I know you feel like it's getting questioned like unfairly, but it's only becoming a bigger deal as we get closer to a potential retirement, right? At a potential chance that he's never going to actually, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I get it. Y'all want to see him fight the fights. I get it.
It wouldn't be that. If he's going to fight some bigger fights, some, you know, like a Shakur, or if he's going to do those fights, and then F the past. You know what I'm saying? Those things are just stepping stone. But if he closes out today, if Tank makes an announcement tomorrow on Twitter and says, I'm done with boxing, Lamont Roach is my final fight, I'm legitimately retiring, we get confirmation from Leonard Ellerby, we get confirmation from the PBC, they congratulate him, wish him the best in his life and what he's going to do, and we get real confirmation that Tank Davis is done with boxing, then all these things that he did in the past are going to become all that there is there to judge him on. Let me pass this off to Too Rich. He just came in the building. Salute to Too Rich.
Salute, Clay, Ray, panel.
Salute, bro.
Yeah, man, I was just gonna tap in on the hydration clause. Man, I just think it's definitely used as a weapon. I mean, it's an A-side advantage. But I would say to 2 Cent, I want you to look at it from a different perspective. I saw an interview with Shakur about a year and a half ago, and he was asked about fighting Ryan Garcia. Would he fight Ryan Garcia? And he said, yeah, I go up to 140 to fight Ryan Garcia. He said, but I'll probably put a hydration clause on him, drain him a little bit. You see, you got to be smart. So that lets you know these boxers are thinking about what they're doing. They understand what they're doing. So now if we look at the Gervonta Ennis fight coming up, this a unification. So this the first time we're gonna see Gervonta Ennis fight without the IBF 10-pound rehydration clause. Now we've been criticizing Gervonta, but what if he goes out there and shows out? It may have something to do that he had been drained by the IBF hydration clause. So the hydration clause definitely affects the fighter and the fight. Because the question is, why are you fighting a bigger guy if you need to put a clause on him? Why are you even fighting him? Why is that a fight that you need to have? Go ahead.
So with that point right there, Gervonta Ennis fought Karen on the rehydration clause, but you know what I didn't hear? Oh, Gervonta looked like that because he was on the rehydration clause with that IBF belt, and he was at a disadvantage. No, I didn't hear that. I heard how terrible he looked, how this and that, and all these negative critiques people had of him, but nobody ever took into consideration that he's fighting on that clause, which is why he probably looked like that, because he's not able to hydrate as much as he usually does.
Well, people did, though. They was telling him to move up, though, 2 cents.
It was said, and I think Gervonta even said something about him having trouble making weight for that fight anyway. He might move to 154, which he was heavily criticized for not taking a Virgil fight. So it was something that was mentioned.
The main point, though, is that it's definitely an advantage, though. Even with the Frank Martin fight, though.
But why do the sanctioning bodies do it, though? Frank Martin was not on the rehydration clause. I don't know why people keep saying
because no, it's not. We're not saying that it's bad.
Let me just. I just want to implement one thing. There's 2 reasons. First of all, it's done by the sanctioning bodies is done to eliminate advantage, right? It's done to make it an even playing field for people who are fighting under their sanctioning body belt, right? Who's fighting for we just want to make sure it's as close to an even playing field as possible. So we put that rule there. So just to make the competition more fair on the playing field. But when a fighter does it, it's done for the advantage. If the fighter,
but you just agree with me that it was to make Ryan honest.
Right. No, it wasn't to make it was to make him honest, but it was to it wasn't like you said, it wasn't honest no matter what, because Ryan is just a bigger fighter than Tank, right? So it wasn't going to be honest because the fight in so many ways probably shouldn't have even happened. In all reality, that's what Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins was telling Ryan. That's why they were so pissed off with him, right? Like, this fight shouldn't even happen. And if it does happen, don't give yourself the disadvantage and fight somewhere that you've never been, that you're not able to sustain that. Bring him up to where he's already fought at and force him to at least let you get that those pounds at 140 so you can be completely hydrated. So right. Tank did the right thing and said, listen, if you want to fight me that bad and make this money, then here are my rules and what I have to offer you to make the fight happen. Ryan did his thing, made his money, signed the paperwork, and said that making the money was the most important thing. He got his biggest payday, and he put himself in a situation to where he wasn't fully himself. That's on Ryan.
Right.
That has no. We're not fighting for Ryan here. But I am going to say that the boxing fan is aware. They see and they understand. And where somebody like wants to bring up Ryan Garcia as this legitimate victory, which it is, but a legitimate victory in the sense of he did fight hard fights, they're going to throw shots at it because they know Ryan Garcia wasn't as strong as he could be. That's just what's going to happen and what is presently happening whenever this topic comes up. You know what I mean? People are just, this is where it's going to be. I want to take a moment to read this super chat that came in the building as well. And then I'm going to pass it back to you, 2 cents, because I know you was about to say something. Hunter Young, shout out to you. Salute. Tank is a trash fight. Okay. I fell asleep twice on Shakur's fights. Shakur versus Tank cannot get my money. Okay. I mean, that's your personal opinion. Okay. Let me go ahead and pass it back to you.
He lying.
I mean, look, that's his opinion. That's cool. 2 cents. Were you going to say something, or was I wrong? And then we can go back.
No. I hear what y'all saying. It's just right. I'm pretty sure if you comb through a lot of people's resumes, you will see things like this.
I'm pretty sure.
People putting other people on rehydration.
I get it. Tank got the attention. People want to see him fight 2 fighters that they keep naming, and if he don't fight those 2 fighters, his legacy is diminished. He ain't did nothing. He ain't fought nobody. He ain't never fought no champion. He don't listen to his fans. All of this stuff. It's all good, but right. I get it. But I just want to make a point. Like,
I think
it's just starting to get hyperbolic.
I hear a little
She
cynicism.
in her defense mode.
As soon as they turn 22, let them go.
I don't want to misconstrue it. I think I might hear a little tiny bit of cynicism, just a little bit. Just a little tiny little bit. It's the background. If you really listen for it, you can find it. Not here. Not easy to hear.
Let me just build off the back of what Clay also said. Like, you know what
I'm just happy ain't nobody called Tank small or tiny.
Yeah, but anyway, stupid. What Clay was saying also, just to build off the backs of it, that isn't the only big fight that he had rehydration clause. I think it was like a lot of fights. I think Rolly even admitted that he had one, and not to mention Frank Martin had a 12-pound rehydration clause put on him. So a lot of these things, and I know and I feel bad. You know what I mean? I don't want to gangbang pause 2 cents. You know what I mean? And be disrespectful. But
I feel bad.
Rolly did not have a rehydration clause. It was only Barrios.
Martin had a 12-pound rehydration clause. I actually just read
Frank Martin did have a rehydration. That's what I was going to say to you earlier when you were saying that, but I just didn't say nothing. But I just wanted
and they made him weigh in later in the day so he can feel the effects of it more.
I mean, but this is boxing.
It's an advantage for sure.
This is what I'm talking about. These are things that go on in boxing. This is what the fighters do. This is what they do, y'all.
Yeah, I respect it.
This ain't just Tank.
Who was this day?
It's not. You're right. It's definitely not just Tank. But what we're saying is, in this chapter, and I've always broken down like the chapters in fighters' careers. I always feel like you have like the prospect chapter of their career where they're just staying busy. Then you got the contender where they're trying to fight the right fights. And then they do a little bit of the legacy, and then they go into the prize fighting part of their career, right? Usually towards the end, their last couple of fights is usually their big money fights. I've always said that Tank Davis had his prize fighting career in the beginning. He was blessed to be next to Floyd and the PBC to put that type of machine behind him where he was able to take advantage and become a prize fighter early in his career. But in this chapter of his career, on his way out on this 7-fight quote deal for $200+ million that he has with Amazon Prime, we always assumed and people spoke on Tank's legacy being the priority in this because the money was already secured, because Amazon already said we're shooting you $240 million, which I still question how real that is, and he didn't have to worry about the money anymore. He seemed like he was going to be more focused on making the biggest fights before he left. And once again, like I said, if he's talking about retiring before making these fights, it does put his career in scrutiny. It does put the resume in scrutiny because he hasn't had this chapter in his career yet. He hasn't focused on it.
And let me tell y'all this. Y'all know who else should have focused on becoming a prize fighter?
Let me finish real quick. What I was actually
the champions in the weight class.
Let me finish real quick. What I was actually trying to get to the point of before I was interrupted, no big deal, is that 2 Cents, you're right. He's not the only fighter to ever do this, and he's not the only fighter that will ever stop doing it unless they stop it somehow, right? But let's look at the picture. He is one of the bigger fighters to do it, name-wise, in the sport. And that's why it's so heavily criticized, because we want to see, as Bub Boxing said earlier, we want to see the best fight the best. Are you truly your best when you have clauses that slow you from being your best? That's what the question comes down to at the end of the day. Okay, sorry.
Now, let me. I think True Rich is about to tap in. Let him tap in. Right quick.
Hey, 2 Cent, I just want to ask you, just an honest question. Now, we saw Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, and we saw how that played out. If you found out today that Errol Spence had a hydration clause put on him for that fight, would it change your idea of what happened in that fight?
No, because Earl
you would think that would be exactly the same, or would it kind of explain? People try to explain why what happened.
Listen, I mean, it's cool. You can be question. Like, listen, this is the thing. This is how I feel about stuff like that. If you agree to it, cool. But I can't say, I can have an observation of, he had a rehydration clause, but I'm not going to say that's the reason why you lost, or that's the reason why the other fighter won. I'm going to acknowledge and observe what happened in the fight, or maybe how it affected your performance. But this is boxing. You have to be able to overcome these things in order to win. Sometimes it is what it is.
You said you acknowledge that it affects your performance, though. So how could it? You're saying you're saying both sides. You're saying you can't say that that's the reason why he lost, that contributed, but you're saying you know the effects of it, though.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's saying both sides. I think what 2 Cents is saying, I think both things can be true. I agree with what she's saying, right? She's basically, what I'm hearing is, I'm going to hold you accountable for the decisions you've made, and I'm not going to sit here and cry for you. You should have done and prepared accordingly and done what you were supposed to do, not sign the rehydration clause, do whatever contingencies needed to be done, whatever it was that was going to make you not fall victim to that. That was your responsibility to handle that. But at the same exact time, I question and I ask, and I don't think 2 Cents is going to deny it, but I think what Too Rich is saying, as a fan of boxing, are we going to not acknowledge the effect of the rehydration clause in that fight as far as results is concerned? As far as if Errol
we can
didn't have the
acknowledge
rehydration clause, wouldn't you assume it was probably going to be a different fight based on how affected he seemed he was in him being a depleted?
Yeah, it could have been, it could not have been. Just like how y'all just brought up Richardson with the rehydration clause, and he was still able to win. You get what I'm saying?
Still able to win, but we're still interested and understand that it's going to be different. We're looking to see if it's going to be different, him not having the rehydration clause. I think we're just trying to understand, and I think Too Rich is just trying to highlight the fact that the rehydration clause is something to take lightly. It does make a difference on the outcome of the fight, and although it's fair, people agree to it and those things, as boxing fans, you're always going to be hungry and want to see a fighter on Tank Davis's level fight without those intangibles on the outside, just without a rehydration clause, without the smaller guy being the smaller guy, without bringing down a bigger guy, just fighting on the most even playing field that's possible out there against the best fighters available.
Let me ask Too Rich a question.
You're going to want to see it.
Hold on, before y'all go past this, this though, hold on. What the reason that a fighter loses, the outcome of the match isn't because of a fighter because a fighter agreed to something, saying that he shouldn't have agreed to it. So, that doesn't mean that the whatever affected the fight didn't truly affect it. If a person agreed to it, it's his fault. That's where the fault goes in that. But that doesn't mean that doesn't change what we see, what actually affect the fight,
I agree. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I should get all this. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the scrutiny, I get it. Y'all see the differences or whatever, but to act like he's not who he is because of these things is the whole point I'm trying to make, especially when you have sanctioning bodies doing rehydration clauses. And this is what I want to ask Too Rich. It was said that whatever belt Shakur and Hitchison is fighting for, it was said that, Shakur Stevenson went and asked for the rehydration clause to be implemented, right? I don't know how true that is or not, but let's say he did. And I feel like if Shakur Stevenson asked for it to be implemented, I don't see no problem with that, because this is boxing. It's chess, not checkers. The issue is Schofield and Kid Austin should have known that a rehydration clause could have been implemented, and they should be prepared for that. It's not Shakur trying to pull a fast one or get an advantage. It's a rule. So if I want to implement this rehydration clause, it's going to be implemented on both of us. It's your fault you weren't aware that you could be put under a rehydration clause for this belt.
But look, think about this though. You said it's chess, not checkers. Well, what makes it chess? If you're going to utilize the hydration clause, why is it chess then? What game are you playing?
It's chess because if Kid Austin is a big boy and he rehydrates to a higher weight, and Shakur Stevenson, I'm not saying that he does, we hypothetically speaking, feels like, well, I can't let him rehydrate that big because he'll have an advantage. Let me get this rule implemented. Let me make sure this rule is implemented. That's what I'm saying. Now, if it would be more advantageous for Shakur Stevenson to rehydrate higher than Austin, he might not say nothing about the rule. But that doesn't make him.
But you're basically saying what most people are saying, that a rehydration clause is an advantage.
We're talking over each other. Hold on, and let Texas get in a little bit.
I just got a real quick question. Okay, let's say we get the Pitbull and Tank rematch, and there's a rehydration clause on the rematch, and Tank doesn't do as good as he did or even loses. Then will you see that rehydration clause like everybody else does? Like I said, if we were to get the Pitbull rematch and there was a rehydration clause and Tank didn't do as good as he did last fight or even loses, then would you see the rehydration clause, the full effect of it, or no, it wouldn't even be an issue?
I mean, it has an effect. I don't understand what your question is.
Yeah, I think.
Well, you're trying to say that it really doesn't matter, or it's not an issue.
No, she's not saying that. What she's saying is that I think what she's acknowledging the effect of it, but I think she's just trying to get us to more embrace the fact that it's a legitimate part of the game.
Right.
Respectively, she's a fan of the smartest fighter, not the toughest or the best fighter. She's a fan of the fighter that can move with the most strategic and pinpoint accuracy, regardless of if it's hoe tactics or not. That's what she's a fan of.
If that's the case, Terrence Crawford would be my favorite fighter.
How finesse, how her fighter can.
If that's the case, Terrence Crawford would be my favorite fighter.
That's an interesting perspective. I'm not going to even lie. I think, and I think that's real. Like I think there are fans of the tough. That you got the fans of the tough fighter of the people who like to reference the Sugar Ray Leonard, Duran days. They want to see the toughest fighters, the warriors, and then you do have a new era of, not new era, but I think they're just coming up. There's a lot more of them than they were back in the day, of fighters who appreciate more of the outside of the ring antics that lead to the inside of the ring fights, right? They're like, yo, if you got a rehydration clause, that's part of your arsenal. You should use it to your advantage. It's up to the other guy to negotiate, you know what I mean, it properly. They're into the negotiation of the actual fight and the building of what makes the fight, the contract, the privilege that's exerted, and then whatever that turns into in the ring, let them compete on that level. And I think we have another boxing fan who's more so like, man, damn all the antics, be clean, be as strong as you can be. I want to fight the best version of you so that when I do beat you, it holds the weight of what it's supposed to say, which is I am the best. Not because this thing right here you took advantage of, not because you made me do this, you forced me to do this, but just because I beat you up on your best playing field. Roy Jones spoke about this, and I'll pass it. Roy Jones said in an interview, and I was the one doing an interview with him, me and Blue Blood on Blue Blood's channel, and he said when he was fighting, he wanted the fighter who he was fighting to be the best version of himself. It was a very important part of the process for him. He said that when he went up to heavyweight, he didn't want no rehydration clauses. He didn't want he didn't want no stupid rules. He wanted the best version of you. He does not want you or people to give an excuse that would discredit his win, by saying the only reason he won was because it was important to him. And I think back in the day, those fighters had more of that approach to it. Today, a lot of fighters, and it's always been here, rehydration clauses and things that have always been here, but it seems to not get the pushback it did back in the day. And the fighters themselves don't seem to be as concerned with these victories holding that kind of weight as much as the paydays, and that the negotiation goes the right way, and that, as long as it's going their way, they're not concerned of it. And the fans of these boxers don't push back enough at it. They're willing to take it. So in turn, we end up not seeing the fights the right way we want to see them. We got two new people in the background. I'm going to bring them in. I don't know who was going to tap into what I said. If Ray, if you want to tap in.
Well, I wanted to tap in because I was actually listening. I wanted to tap in a little earlier. So just to let you guys know, with Shakur and Junior, Floyd Schofield Jr. thing, that was a WBC ruling. That was actually something that was put in their rules. There's no attachment to Shakur's name to that. That was actually something that they released. If you actually look at the document, it says that was something that was adopted in 2024. So a lot of people
I was just
not saying you two said. I'm just speaking on it. So a lot of people are speaking on it as Shakur went out of his way, and that's actually how the Schofields had to make it seem that Shakur went out of his way to make Mauricio Suleiman put this in action just for him, which I don't even think that was the case. So they both have to fall into that same category. It's not like it's an advantage there. So that whole type of rehydration clause, whether it be IBF or the new WBA ruling of WBC, ruling of that rehydration clause that happened back in April, is what it is. And I don't think we should be looking at it any other way, sorts or indifferent for any other fighter.
Let me ask a question. So if a fighter does it, it's a problem. But if it's a sanctioning body rule, no issue.
No, because the rule from the governing body of the fight, they're the ones who support the fight. And if a fighter does it, I still don't have a problem with it. It's like you guys both said, right? Chess, not checkers, or checkers, regardless of how we play it. He's the A side. this, and that. I don't think anyone even has a problem with Tank using the rehydration clause to his advantage. I think they're saying what was being said in this whole conversation is because of the rehydration clause, there was an advantage. I don't think there's a problem. I don't have a problem with it. It is what it is. He fought who he fought. Rather, it was well, somebody said yes, we do. But anyway, that might be Ryan Garcia, by the way, Ryan's speech. But anyway, just joking. Listen, it is what it is. It's boxing. Regardless, there's got to be some advantages there. There's people that won't let you wear special gloves as of now anyway. He won't let you wear certain gloves to fight him. He only uses and chooses the gloves that he allows you to use, and you have to select from those. So there's many games that are being played in these boxing rings. Floyd has situations where he had certain gloves, different things. He tampered with gloves, not tamper, but will like pick up people's gloves and things of that nature. So it has happened. Remember, dude wore Hitcherson's gloves just to like, what was it, Parle? Wore a pair of Richardson Hitchens gloves in a fight.
Yeah, just like Crawford didn't have his magic gloves his last fight.
Hey, they might have been magic, but guess who owned that? Guess who owned that accident? Everlast. I have to. If they own it, I can't get mad at Terrence Crawford. And I am a Earl Spence fan. Let's just be honest, right? So let's keep it clean. But
before we move away from it,
I'm taking shots.
I'm not calling none of those. Listen, Earl got his butt whipped, and I'm actually very upset about it. Me and Clay debated it. I debated it with multiple people. It is what it is. I accept the fact that he lost. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But before Ryan tested for Oscarine, I accepted the loss there until I found
not the Oscarine, bro.
Yeah, don't bring that up. But
let me tap in on what.
I gotta bring in boxing hackers. Let's get to it, and then
what I'm saying is
can I tap into what Clay said real quick before we bring Hacker in?
Any form of advantages or things of that nature are welcome as long as it's in the rules of play. That's all I'm saying. If it's in the field of play, let it happen. I don't have a problem with it.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to tap into what Clay said a little bit about fans being, a fan of a fighter because of their advantages that they have, and really taking pride in their fighter having those advantages. Like that was one of the reasons why I heard a lot of Tank fans saying that Tank shouldn't go over there and mess with Turki Al-Sheikh because, it would give up his A-side privileges, and I was thinking, me not being a fan of rehydration clauses and all of that stuff, I'm thinking, what kind of advantages you want the guy to have? Like, why you want a fighter to have an advantage? We want to see him fight on an equal playing field. We want to just see the fight. We don't want nobody to be able to dictate no rehydration clause or whatever type of advantage you want to. What is it, the money or whatever? I don't care how much y'all getting paid. The fighter's getting paid. If they're getting paid equal, as long as this fighter gets what he's asking for and that fighter is getting what he's asking for, and we get to see the fight.
Well, then, if this is the case, what you're saying, what's up? A lot of your favorite fighters would be under a lot more scrutiny if y'all really knew.
Right.
Yeah, if we knew, we should be holding them on scrutiny. Let me pass it off to Boxing Hacker because he's gonna be in the dark.
Yeah.
He's never gonna come out if I don't do this. Boxing Hacker, salute.
Salute.
Hey, Clay, Ray, Channel, what's up, guys?
What's good? What's up, man? How you feeling today, man?
Hey, so I just want to chime in a little bit on the rehydration clause thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely, when fighters do it, it's absolutely an advantage. They don't do it to make it fair. It's on the same realm as when fighters make the ring smaller or fighters choose certain gloves over other gloves, It's always for an advantage, They look at it like, hey, I know this brother has trouble making weight. I can make this weight okay and still be healthy. Rehydration clause, let's do it, You'll never see a fighter struggling to make weight and put a rehydration clause, including Tank. Like to raise a previous comment with Leo Santa Cruz, who was coming up. You didn't see Tank talk about rehydration clause then. You won't see him talk about a rehydration clause with Lamar Roach, because he knows that they won't struggle to make weight because they're coming from lower weight classes. It's always to the fighter's advantage.
It's a stipulation to the naked eye. It doesn't seem that severe, but the more you know about it and the more you learn about it, then you see exactly how severe it is and exactly how it affects the fighter. But if you the rehydration clause, it just sounds like okay, that's just something he's got to worry about the night of the fight. In actuality, no, it's way more different. It's way more severe than that. Way more deeper than that.
Yeah, exactly. Even to your question, to send, why is it okay that some sanctioning bodies? I believe it's only one or maybe two 1.5 because the other sanctioning body I think is still deciding.
Yeah,
But
WBA.
but here's the thing: like, it's rehydration clauses are always terrible. They are always a terrible thing to have. You know, they're never a good thing. And the reason is because people have this weird conception, like, oh, it keeps fighters honest, it'll keep fighters closer to their natural weight. No, it doesn't. It never does that. Rehydration clauses, all it does is constrain you from rehydrating. It literally does what it says. It constrains the amount of time you have to rehydrate. So even if I'm about to fight you, right? Let's say I'm about to fight you, I'm struggling to make weight. If the section body says I have to rehydrate, like they put a constraint on my rehydration, I'm still gonna make that weight no matter where I came in. I just have less time to rehydrate. What does that mean for the fighter? That means a bigger chance of me being dehydrated in the fight. That means bigger chance for deaths, bigger chances for long-term injuries. You know, and we know this to be a fact because back in the day they used to do this. Look at like Roberto Duran. He fought Sugar Ray Leonard, and they had the same day weigh-ins, right? Roberto Duran came with 200 pounds to 147. Like these things. It's that's just how boxing is, you know.
Yeah, but see, there's scientific advantage that go into play nowadays. Back then, they were losing like 20 to 15 pounds. Now they're losing like 40 plus. So that's where the fucking rehydration clauses came into play to keep these fighters losing 40 plus pounds, beating on and punching on smaller people.
It's more. So here's the thing. People ignore the fact that there are good sides and bad sides to both things, right? For instance, like the person who's closer to a weight has an easier chance to like cut weight, right? They cut weight much easier, right? Versus a person who is really big for the weight, who has to cut more weight, and hopefully he can hydrate properly and not be weight drained, you know? So those, like, people think it's just like a straight advantage. It's not like that. Because if it was like that, and think about this, if it was like the way people think it was, then Errol Spence versus Crawford 2, people would say, let Spence fight at 147 again, you know, because that's where his advantage would be, right? But no, they're saying let him fight at 154 because we think he'll be stronger because he would be closer to that weight. So it's not like just because I'm big for a weight class, I just naturally have an advantage, you know, because there's great disadvantages as well when you're cutting that weight, you know. So, I mean, that's food for thought, you know, something to think about. You know, I get this whole thing about, oh, well, why do people criticize Tank? I mean, at the end of the day, like, if people say this person's supposed to be the best, people are gonna look at it at a microscope, just like they do for Devin Haney, just like they do for Shakur, just like they do for Crawford. If they say you're the best, they're gonna criticize everything, you know.
But Hacker, what do you think about what I said earlier about Tank? If he fights Shakur and fights Devin, where how big they are now at this point in time, them entering their prime and Tank being maxed out, that they're not being a level playing field. So if they do fight, there will be a rehydration clause. So even if Tank beats Devin and Shakur with the rehydration,
I don't even know why you keep saying that. If they fight at 135, it will not be a rehydration clause.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to apply.
There will be a rehydration clause. So therefore, he's going to beat Devin, Ryan, and Tank, or he's going to fight Ryan, Shakur, and Devin and beat them all on rehydration clauses, and that's going to make him the greatest? That's going to make him a great by beating all his big fights on rehydration clauses?
Well, first off, I think if if Ryan and Devin try to make 135 again, I think they both die. You know, I think they'll die on the scale. You know, that'll be diabolical.
Are over. The Tank versus the other two kids, though, it's over with. He let those kids grow. They bypassed him. It's over with.
Exactly.
He can't fight those kids on even playing grounds. On even playing grounds, he can't.
I think Shakur and him are like can still fight. You know, I think Shakur still makes the weight class easily. You know, but I don't think Devin and Ryan at 135. I don't think that. I mean, not saying it's impossible because money talks, but I wouldn't want to see. I think that would be diabolical at the same time. You know.
I think what he's saying is
the rehydration clause gets you coming and going. It gets you in the training camp as well, bro. Because you can't feed the beast. You got to worry about your revamp, your bounce back weight. So therefore, you can't feed and indulge or do your normal routine because you got to worry about that fucking mark you got to hit after the fact.
Bro, then you mad with all the boxing then. You mad with a lot of boxers then.
I don't know. That's over exaggerating a little bit.
I don't think it's mad at all boxing, but I do think there's some frustration without a doubt across the boxing space with, you know, and I think that's what with Turkey Al-Sheikh and when you see how boxing fans are really embracing what he's bringing to the space. It's a response. It's kind of like the Donald Trump situation. People wanted to talk about, and I'm not gonna make it political at all, but I'm just trying to say that most people thought, a lot of people who had issues with Donald Trump, you see that the voting this year kind of represented like the whole entire country's perspective on how things have been moving, right? It's the same thing with boxing. The response to Turki Al-Sheikh's presence is a response to how a lot of people have been feeling about how boxing has been moving, how the antics are being played with the rehydration clause, with the A-side privileges, with the across the street politics, and the things that people have been feeling about where boxing has been heading. Now you see this guy coming in, bringing in this energy, and it's being embraced to where people are like, where in the hell did this come from? What are you guys talking? Since when? You guys just sell out for anything? No, it's that they've been in hibernation. They've been sleeping. They've been just being quiet because they know that they've been speaking on deaf ears. They know that their perspective isn't being heard. Nothing's going to be done about it. So why complain? But as soon as they found an opportunity for a solution, you see how the space is acting. They're showing you something that's been underlying for years about the disapproval and the frustration with the boxing space. And I think when you're hearing Texas 16 speaking from the passion he's speaking about, or even Too Rich at times speaking, I mean, look what his name says. Too Rich, Mr. I Respect the Belts, right? This is not something that is being spoken about a lot, but now we're seeing an opportunity for these things to be brought to the surface, and you're seeing everybody expressing frustration with the space. It's not just a Tank thing.
So it's not a Tank thing. Because you say the word antics, but it's not necessarily an antic. Like, it's a part of boxing.
Right, but from a boxing fan's point of view, it is antics. Like, it might not be. I understand what you're saying. Like, it's an actual legitimate chess move that you're allowed to do. It's like getting upset with a knight for moving in an L pattern, right? It's like that's what it can do, but it can still annoy you. You know what I'm saying? You could be like, that's an antic, man. Why? But it's part of the game, right? I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is also what's part of the game is what you're seeing, which is fans pushing back at what they think is getting in the way of boxing being what they want boxing to be. And that's all it is. You know what I mean? Fans are pushing back and they're saying, damn, of rehydration clause. If you can't fight the guy, just don't fight the guy.
So it's like Tank is the face of the pushback. Tank is the face of the pushback.
He's the face of boxing, right?
It's not part of boxing though, Clay. It is antic. Like a knight moving the L shape is the rule of a knight moving the L shape is like a rule in chess, right?
Right.
But antic is not a rule, it's just something that you add to it, you know? Yeah. Like you saying like
so you're telling me for all the boxing they've been doing it. A side, B side, like this has been going on.
Yeah,
it's been going on. So how can you say it's not a part of boxing?
Fans are being smarter.
So antics are part of boxing, right? 2 cents. Antics are a part of boxing. Like
antics are what Ryan Garcia was doing before the Devin Haney fight.
Antics are also changing the ring size because I know you're a runner.
No, that's a strategy. No, that's a strategy. Strategy.
I mean, you say tomato. I mean, it's the same. They're still antics, you know. They're not part of the actual game of boxing.
The same thing. I think antics. I see what 2 cents is saying. Like antics kind of dismisses the legitimacy behind what they're doing. Like they're allowed to be doing it. Antics is almost kind of like it's malicious. It's throwing a shot at a legitimate strategy that they're allowed to use and that they're fully in their right to use if it's going to help them. I understand what she's saying. You know what I mean? And boxing hackers basically saying strategy, antics, tomato. It's still outside of the ring.
I feel like they're almost the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to put like a negative
being made to affect what's happening inside the ring.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I remember Floyd used to be the master of like boxing antics. I mean, there are things that people do that like give the other fighter advantages, you know? Yeah. Whether it's like do something emotional, like the way Floyd stole Oscar's belt and made him pissed off at like a press conference. That's antics.
Yeah.
You know, what about whenever Floyd took 16 minutes to walk to the ring versus the older Sugar Shane? He was trying to burn Sugar Shane down. He was trying to get a round and a half on the Sugar Shane's clock just by having him out there alone and waiting on Floyd. All those little tactics. Who's on the front row? Is there an ex-girlfriend of his on the front row? Is the ex-girlfriend on my side like he did Chico Corrales? Mayweather brought Chico Corrales' ex-girlfriend to the fight and sat him on his side on the front row.
Yeah, you're right, bro. Like, I mean, antics, strategy, once again, tomato. Listen, man, these fighters are gonna do whatever they can. And athletes are going to do whatever they can do to get an advantage and leverage in any form of competition, whether it's football, basketball, boxing, MMA, tennis, whatever it is that's going to give me that edge. It's their job. They're trying to win. They didn't make it to the big show. You know, even Tom Brady once said, was it Tom Brady? No. I mean, you know, I remember when Tom Brady and the Patriots got in trouble for the deflate gate, right? And people came out and said, listen, man, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying to win. Right? That's like the saying. We expect that. Athletes are going to do whatever. This is with the birth of steroids and PEDs use. This is where the foundation of it is that leverage. Every inch matters. You know what I'm saying? So as boxing fans, though, our job is to push back, celebrate what we love, push back at what we hate. And it's the boxing space, the people, the promoters, the fighters, it's their job to figure out how to get the money from us. And if we just become easy Burger King dates that, you know, all you gotta do is feed us cold fries and a cold Whopper, and we're still willing to give up the booty, then why are they gonna push to give us the steak? Why are they gonna give us what we want? We have to be expensive. We have to be bougie. We have to have requests. We have to have things, boxes that need to be checked in order for you to get the money out of our pocket that you want, because that's what it's all about for you guys. Sometimes the boxers and the promoters lose sight of that because they're too used to us taking whatever they give us. But it's our job to be like, all right, you want our $80. It's our job to make it clear what it's going to take to get our $80. And there's nothing wrong with pushing back. The guys who push back at boxing is the guys who give you David Morrell versus David Benavidez. Trust me. That's why you get those fights. That's why you get Roberto Duran versus Sugar Ray Leonard. That's why you get it. You get it because the fans speak loud and the boxers hear. But once we lose that connection with the boxers, when we lose that connection and it becomes take what I give you, stop crying, stop whining, stop complaining, then we lose. You see the quality starts to go down, 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 and down. Turkey Al-Sheikh is giving the cards he's giving because he's listening to what the fans are saying. He's doing that. He's doing the Ring magazine. He's doing the awards. He's doing these things because, fans want this to be celebrated. Fans want legacy. I'm a fan. They want this fight. I want this fight. He's doing it based off of that, and that's what's getting him the success and getting him the response and the energy he's getting. Also, it's getting him the damn hate that he's getting. You know, you see, look at the guys right there hating. Here we go with the turkey glaze. See what I'm saying? I can't win.
Man,
let me say that right quick.
It is what it is.
It's part of it. Those are people you get up here, go back and forth with.
Nah, 2 cents. I ain't mad. Plus, that's coming from 2 cents, man. That's my guy. He's just gonna poke at me no matter what. Pause. So
pause
is diabolical, bro.
Let me say this last thing on the hydration clause, man. It's not really just a Tank thing. It's just that Tank is the most popular guy. I think it applies to any of those popular guys. If Terrence Crawford, Terrence Crawford versus Canelo at 168, great fight. Terrence Crawford versus Canelo on a rehydration clause is slightly a different fight. That's not the same fight. Devin versus Ryan rematch, okay, good fight. Devin versus Ryan on a rehydration clause is a slightly different fight because those are the big names. You know, I think it more so applies to the big names in boxing.
I mean, I challenge everybody to go through some of the greatest fighters and your favorite fighters and just comb through their resume and see what was at a catch weight and see who had a rehydration clause. And
they're all antics.
You know what I'm saying? But I get it.
They're all antics. All of them were antics.
It's not antics.
Whenever a fight puts a rehydration clause, man,
we are definitely getting to that point though. We're 3.5 hours in, so I am going to pass it around the room and kind of get like closing statements. This was an awesome panel today. I love these kind of panels, man. 2 cents came in to build. I don't know. She must have. I know somebody gonna get in trouble. 2 cents is some closet at her job or somewhere she ain't supposed to be right now. You know what I'm saying? I know but I appreciate putting it on the line for the channel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I told you I was coming up here to shake the table this year. I'm shaking it.
No, you definitely do it. You definitely did it, man. We I appreciated you being up here, man. Enjoyed your engagement and your perspective. I'm going to pass it around the room. We can start actually at 2 cents and bring it back full circle and get some closeouts and move. Oh, hold on. Before we do that, this is OG. I gotta respect it. You know, let's Coach Eddie build a little bit, put his 2 cents into as well. What's up, Coach? How you doing? Coach, you there?
What up, Coach Eddie? What up, Coach Eddie?
Coach, you on mute.
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on, guys?
No, we're doing good, man. We was getting ready to close it out, but I definitely want to get your perspective on the topic. If you even know what the topic is, I'm not sure, but
No, give it to me. I've been listening for about 20 minutes. I'm be talking about rehydration clause. Excuse me, I just had a wisdom tooth pulled, but I had to jump in real quick. But as far as the weight thing, it really kind of also depends on your frame, your body structure. Guys like Bivol, he doesn't rehydrate that big. Andre Ward never rehydrated that big. So you got guys who can crazy crazy amounts of weight.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I'm not gonna lie to you, Coach. Your connection's bad. Yeah, and then that happened. Coach, you there? Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. We're gonna close it out though. Let's bring it full circle. I think 2 cents bounced out the room right quick. Boxing Hack, you want to say something to close out right quick?
Yeah, I got you guys. Salute to the panel in the chat. Thanks for having me on. Like I said before, like rehydration clauses have always been antics. They've always been, and not just Tank. In history of boxing, we've always seen it. I mean, De La Hoya walked up to fight Pacquiao like a dead man. He was a dead man before he even walked into that damn ring. But like it's always been a thing in boxing where fighters, they always want to gain the advantage, like before the fight or after the fight. The only thing now is, if you do that, fight fans know, like real hardcore fight fans know, hey, we're gonna critique it. There's asterisks. You got to win, but there's always gonna be an asterisk, like, hey, but did you really fight that guy at his best because of this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just food for thought, But and also, I don't know why people will ever be against Turkey. I think Turkey is doing an amazing job for boxing at the moment. Like I think boxing was at a space where we were losing. From Showtime to like a paid streaming, like so many things were going like left for boxing. It's good to see like somebody, you step in to like, sort of like support the sport and try and sort of like reimagine it. Like I like the fact that he's trying to reimagine things. Like the whole thing with the tournaments, the whole thing is trying to get fires, all these like promotional companies to get together and fight together. I think that's all amazing things that happen in boxing. And I understand people, they worry, oh, fights are gonna be in Saudi, this and that. Man, look, fighters have world titles. They can fight wherever the world is, Saudi's part of the world, so they can fight there. If you're a world champion, if you're in contention to become a world champion, you should be able to fight any damn where. So it is what it is, So, but anyway, with that, I'm out. Salute to you, Claymore, Ray, and the panel. 2 cents, everybody. Coach, Too Rich, everybody take care, okay?
All right,
All right, take care. Take care.
Man. We'll pass it on to 2 cents and then bring it back to Too Rich. 2 cents, what's on your mind?
No, what's up? And I just wanted to come up here and kind of stress and make a point that a lot of these things that, especially when it comes to that, and I get it, he's the face and he's who everybody paying attention to and everybody want to see him challenge and all of that, but let's stop being so hyperbolic about his resume and the things that he has done, because it's just regular things that go on in boxing. And I guarantee you, if you combed up and down your favorite fighter's resume, you will see some of these things take place too. And I know it's people, I want to see him fight the Shakurs. I want to see him fight those fights too, but he still got time. I know he said he was going to retire at the end of the year. He also came back and said he was being emotional when he said that. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. It is what it is. But to say, and I know it's not y'all, and I'm talking about the hyperbolic content creators that you hate Tank and we should boycott Tank and we should, like, come on, y'all, because I see it on my channel. People are coming around and they're repeating this stuff, and it's just nonsense. But it's cool. I like the back and forth. I like the debate, and I had a good time. And I'll be back next time to shake the table.
That's it. Salute. Rich, what's good with your family?
All right, man, what's going on? Man, I'm just going to close it out with just a interesting fact for people concerning the Crawford and Canelo fight. Now, if you look at the numbers that Vegas set when Canelo fought Berlanga, it was minus 2,000. So they basically saying that's a wash. Tank versus Roach opened up at minus 1,700. They're basically saying it's a wash. Canelo versus Crawford is open up at minus 130. At basically 50-50. So they let you know that it's a real fight. It's a bad style matchup for Canelo if he take this fight, and it's a better fight than what people want to say. Like it shouldn't happen. Where it's actually, according to Vegas, the best, the most even fight out there right now. That's all I got.
Right. All right. Move over to Castro.
Yeah. Salute to the chat. Salute to the panel. Salute Clay. Salute Ray. Benavidez in 5, man. Y'all take care. Y'all smash a like and sub. I'm out too, bro.
No
I'm
doubt.
marking that down for you. Thanks.
No doubt, Cash. Well, look, Ray, we
Definitely
did it
right
again.
now.
You did it. We did it again, Ray.
Yo,
we did it
great
again.
conversations, man. Listen, I just want to touch base on things. Closing arguments is always something that's important to me, especially on the channel. I like the conversation. It was great. Even the interaction with the chat. I just want everybody to understand one thing. We should also understand. We should always understand that it's not the fans versus the facts when it comes to Gervonta Davis. A lot of times it seems that way because we have to combat some of the things that you guys argue. Excuse me for 1 second. We have to combat some of the things that we argue with. I don't know why this is going on. Anyway, whatever. We have to combat some of these arguments. I got the fax machine going off right now. With the facts that the fans like to utilize certain strategic arguments and narratives they push on other fighters that we see that should be good competition for Gervonta Davis. That's what I think. And I think the argument from us, Clay, or we're just holding them accountable. Some people like to argue the points and some people may be also holding them accountable. But I think the fans feel sensitive to that and saying that they're not doing anything, or this may be the case. And that's not it. I don't care what he's done, what he has done. The guy's a great fighter. He's put on the performances that everybody likes to see, but is it the performances that we do want to see, right? We like to see it, but do we want to see it? And that's what it comes down to. No, we want to see him fight the best fighters. Those are the facts. We want to see him in the ring with people that are going to create the atmosphere. Those are the facts, right? That's going to be more generational, something legacy, legendary that we can replay and watch years down the line. We don't want to see him fighting fighters that are, that we can automatically say, oh, he's going to knock him out the third round. And it happens. We don't want to see that. We're done with seeing that. We just want to see him challenge. We want to see him reach in the tool bag. We want to see him search adversity to become the guy that we know he can be. And I think that's where people confuse things and they don't hear those things. So let's just be clear. We have to get rid of the fans versus the facts. And guys, be a fan of the sport. It helps because then you start seeing things outside of what your favorite fighter is doing. I promise you, I'm a Morrell Smith fan, but I love the sport. So I can see certain things other than that. I can see certain things with other fighters that I support and like. So let's just try it, man. I mean, it doesn't hurt. And at the end of the day, let's just be honest with ourselves. That's it. That's all I got to say. And Bud, me and you tomorrow, bro, you better get on this live and on this panel, or you better hit the super chat because we ain't talking no more.
Yo, salute to everybody in the building, man. As you guys can see, my camera died on me. I could get up and switch the battery out, but I ain't trying to do all that right now. It's all good, man. Yo, salute to everybody who jumped up on the panel today, man. Great perspectives, great point of views. I think everybody had some legitimacy in what they were saying. You don't always get panels. Sometimes you get some delusional people up here. Today we had a lot of people with great point of views, man. And I think at the end of the day, like Ray said, man, as long as we support the sport benefits. Let's push for the best to fight the best and figure that out. Build fights, don't destroy fights. And yeah, man, and boxing is going to be strong for the years to come, man. Generations to come of talent coming through the space, man. Shout out to everybody who showed up in the building. If you are here and haven't hit the like button, I'm going to encourage you, please do that before you leave. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, it's your first time here. I see Julian Rambley in the building. I don't know if you're subscribed. I feel like it's the first time I've seen you in here. Welcome to the channel. Anybody who's his first time being here, take advantage of subscribing to the channel. Let's help grow this space up. We celebrate World Championship Boxing. Let's make boxing great again. On that note, and at this point, we out.
We out.
They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly, yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they wanna come take my place? I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. This my vocation, now I got rollies all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Squatting all black like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. Don't see the grind that I know that it came with. I ain't make it this far for myself, yeah. I had to prove to everybody else, I had to set them straight, yeah. I had to ball, so I had to renovate, I know. They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate.